Good afternoon. My name is Jason Chavez, and I'm the chair of the Committee of the Whole. I'm going to call to order our regular committee meeting for Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. Before we begin the meeting, I want to offer a friendly reminder to all members, staff, and the public that these meetings are broadcast live to enable greater public participation. These broadcasts include real-time captioning as a further method to increase the accessibility of our proceedings to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll to verify the presence of a quorum.
Councilmember Payne.
Present.
Wansley is absent. Rainville.
Present.
Vita is absent. Ellison.
Here.
Osman is absent. Cashman.
Present.
Jenkins.
Present.
Chugtai.
Present.
Koski.
Present.
Palmisano.
Present.
Vice Chair Chowdhury.
Present.
And Chair Chavez.
Present.
There are 10 members present.
Can I also be noted as
Councilmember Wansley is present. Did we get everybody else? Councilmember Osman is here. And now we're missing Councilmember Vita. Okay, cool. Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. First, we will take up the only public hearing today. This item is a passage of an ordinance relating to the City Council and amending provisions related to policy, research, and oversight functions. I will welcome the City Clerk, Casey Carl, to speak on this item.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Casey Carl. As stated, I have the privilege of serving as clerk for the City of Minneapolis. And as indicated, I'm here to summarize this ordinance which transfers functions within the legislative department from the Office of City Auditor to the Office of City Clerk. Before addressing the specific transfer, I wanted to pull back just a bit and provide some context for this proposal and discuss the City Council within our government structure that voters approved in 2021, which was the genesis for the creation of a separate legislative department. So as we have discussed through numerous prior presentations, the new government structure provides that the City Council is the city's legislative and its primary policy determinant body. It has three major functions shown on this slide. As the primary policy-making body of the City Council has authority to enact local laws to govern the community, as well as the authority to adopt public policies to regulate the city enterprise. Through its policy-making powers, Council determines what services and programs the city will provide to and for whom, for what purposes, and at what level or cost, and the standard, degree, or quality that's expected. In our system of shared but separate powers, Council exercises its policymaking authority in collaboration with the mayor. Council provides important checks in our system of powers that are separated but shared through its oversight of the city's administration. Through oversight, Council has the power to direct studies about current and emerging issues, the ability to conduct investigations to ensure that the administration is operating within applicable laws and policies, and is empowered to monitor and to evaluate the administration's performance in delivering city services and programs. Finally, but perhaps most importantly, it is the council that represents the people of the city, and through that representation has the ability to articulate the needs, priorities, and preferences of the community. In this way, it is council that brings the voice of community into the processes of government decision-making. Under the Government Structure Omnibus Ordinance, and specifically Section 8.100 of that Code of Ordinances, the Legislative Department is created to provide institutional support for the performance of Council's official functions, as I've described them. The department includes different types of resources to support the Council, as well as individual Council members. I'm going to explore those staff resources in a bit of more detail in the next few slides. So as this slide shows, the city charter provides essentially two different types or categories of staff support for council. Those can be grouped into the professional and permanent staff and the political and personal staff. The charter creates and defines the duties of the city clerk and the city auditor and provides them with offices and resources to perform their official functions. The clerk and the auditor are the professional permanent staff officers in the legislative department. Their offices report directly to them, and they exercise full authority over those offices. In addition, the city charter provides for a council staff that is to be a nonpartisan professional resource to the full council, as well as aides to be appointed by individual council members to support them in the conduct of their work. I'm going to discuss these last resources first, which is the centralized council staff and the individual member aides. So as the city charter provides, the council must establish a nonpartisan staff to support the council and its committees in their official functions. This council staff is to be under the direction of the city clerk and is not to be assigned to the individual service of any individual council member. In effect, the charter envisions a permanent professional bureaucracy within the legislative department to support the official functions of council, much like the equivalent agencies at the state level that are dedicated to supporting the state legislature. The charter specifically places that permanent staff team under the direction of the city clerk, who is the principal staff officer for the city council. And again, the creation of that centralized staff team is mandated by city charter. It states the council must provide for this nonpartisan administrative staff to serve in the city's classified service subject to civil service rules. This staff is to be appointed, directed, and supervised by the city clerk. In addition to that central staff, the charter also provides that the council may provide for aides for the individual members to support them in the performance of their work. These aides are not mandated by the charter, but are permissive, and are primarily then subject to budget appropriations for the legislative department. Though the aides are politically appointed by individual members, just like the mayor's aides, they are employees of the city and are subject to all applicable city policies and procedures. Each council member is the appointing authority for the aides assigned to their ward offices within the legislative department. The city clerk is an officer of the city created by the charter. The clerk serves in a number of specific capacities, which I have shown on this slide. First, the clerk is the secretary of the municipal corporation, which is the city government, and that involves responsibilities for the administration of elections and the management of enterprise information assets. Secondarily, the clerk is the secretary of the municipal governing body, that is, of the mayor and the council acting together as prescribed by city charter. This is the foundational purpose for clerks throughout government, which is to facilitate decision-making processes, to prepare and publish official acts and decisions, and to be the repository of the governing body's journal, records, and papers. In addition, the clerk is the head of the legislative department for administrative and operational matters. In this capacity, the clerk has the same authority and responsibilities that the heads of the departments in the city's administration have. And lastly, as noted, the charter designates the clerk as being the head of the council staff that are to serve in a professional, nonpartisan manner in supporting the official functions of council and its committees. The auditor is established as an officer of the city and is the only new position that was specifically created by the Government Structure Amendment. The auditor is an independent and objective evaluator placed within the city enterprise to monitor and evaluate performance across all of its branches, departments, and divisions. The auditor is appointed by an independent audit committee that must be created by the council and which is not under the auspices of the council itself. The auditor must be appointed to a 4-year term and may only be removed for cause during that term. The design of the position specifically insulates the auditor from the political winds of the day in order to protect their independence, their objectivity, and their ability to report truthfully and without bias. The city auditor's office is functionally placed within the legislative department, but it operates as an independent office within that overall structure. According to the city charter, the city auditor's mandate is to conduct audit services for the city's finances and operations. It includes, but is not limited to, performing risk-based, independent, objective assurance and consulting services, investigating alleged abuse, fraud, or waste involving the city's resources, monitoring and assuring compliance with the charter, ordinances, and applicable laws, monitoring and assuring adherence to sound audit practices that are applicable to municipalities, and minimizing financial, operational, reputational, strategic, and other risks. This slide then reflects the current structure of the legislative department as provided by the Government Structure Omnibus Ordinance. You can see the department encompasses the city council and its ward offices and aides, as well as the offices of city clerk and city auditor and the divisions within those specific offices. I've attached charter citations to the various groupings simply for reference purposes. The chart shows a direct line from the audit committee to the city auditor, reflecting the independence provided by city charter, as I've already noted. There is, in addition, a dotted line from the audit committee to the audit division director, which requires the confirmation of the audit committee for appointment. There's also a dotted line from City Council to the City Auditor because the Council can, under the Charter and subject to its provision, remove the auditor for cause during a 4-year term. So there is a connection between Council and the Auditor, but not in a manner which enables the Council to direct, manage, or control the independent City Auditor, which would, of course, violate the independence required by City Charter. The City Clerk is appointed by and reports exclusively to the full City Council. City Clerk is the only officer in the city that is and has always been appointed by the City Council. The Clerk serves at the pleasure of the Council in the unclassified service of the city. So your briefing materials point to a number of prior actions that have been taken since 2021 to create and build out the legislative department following voter approval of the government structure amendment to our city charter. As part of that work, the Policy and Research Division did a landscape analysis of comparable jurisdictions to help define the types of structures and support services that legislative bodies in similar cities enjoy. That report was presented in June 2023, with subsequent reports made since that time. Thanks to the Council, there have been significant investments over the past 2 years to develop a department with the requisite capacity to support Council's official functions. And while that work has continued, the City Attorney's Office this past November issued an opinion indicating that the inclusion of Policy and Research and Oversight and Evaluation divisions under the Office of City Auditor impermissibly expands the role of the auditor and potentially undermines the required independence and objectivity of that office, which is defined and required by City Charter. A copy of the City Attorney's analysis and recommendations was included in your briefing materials, and as a consequence, this ordinance seeks to transfer those functions from the auditor to the city clerk. This transfer then would enable those functions, research, analysis, and oversight, to remain within the legislative department in service of the city council, but removing the conflict created for the independence of the city auditor. As the city attorney's analysis concludes, those functions are more aligned and in keeping with the broader mandate that's placed upon the city clerk in the city charter. Moreover, those professional functions align with the concept of the professional, nonpartisan council staff that is contemplated by the city charter to support council in its official functions. I also believe that this transfer supports synergies that can be leveraged by co-locating those functions with existing legislative support and operational functions which are already placed in the office of city clerk. So this slide then shows the new operating structure for the legislative department imagined by this transfer through the ordinance. It essentially places a new division, which I've labeled Policy, Research, and Oversight, under the auspices of City Clerk and recognizes that this new division, as well as some teams under the existing Legislative Support and Operations Division, essentially serve at that professional, nonpartisan council staff envisioned by the City Charter. On an operational basis, you can see that all divisions will report to the Chief Assistant City Clerk, a new position that was authorized last year by the Council. The Chief Assistant City Clerk is situated as the day-to-day operational manager of the legislative department, working directly with the clerk and the auditor to plan, coordinate, and manage operations. I believe that this transfer will achieve stronger, more integrated, and better results for Council, which I'll highlight on the next slide. As you can see here, a high-level summary of the kinds of support services that I believe the new council staff will be able to achieve for council and through council for the city of Minneapolis. The existing Legislative Support and Operations Division provides secretariat services for council and its committees. This is the bread and butter function of the clerk's office, and it involves the management of meetings, the preparation, publication, and maintenance of the charter, the code of ordinances and city policies, and legislative drafting support. This division also manages daily operations for the entire department, including budget and financial management, personnel administration, information technology, and systems support. Thanks to council's investments, we've also recently created the Outreach and Constituent Services Team, tasked with planning, organizing, and conducting various outreach and engagement services, support for constituent services within the legislative department, and in conjunction with the administration. We anticipate future enhancements in this team to encompass more proactive outreach, communications, and media relations for the council and the legislative department. Finally, this division handles the city's appointed boards and commissions, and we have plans for how to better integrate the work of those boards and commissions into enterprise policies and goals with the city council. Contemplating that existing work, then, the new Policy, Research, and Oversight Division, which transfers those functions from the auditor's office, brings together the existing policy, research, and analysis functions, which expand to encompass more proactive issue and trend analyses, benchmarking, and interagency coordination. It also includes existing research and reference support, but in more defined ways with standard reports and briefings and the ability to provide more customized analysis and reporting. And of course, oversight functions that will develop into more proactive financial review and analysis, including support for the council's evaluation of the mayor's budget proposals, program review, and legislative tracking and reporting. And finally, in the future, I see this division providing professional staff support for council's committees, being tied in directly to committee work through the collaborative development and management of committee work plans and more. As you can see, together these two divisions are anticipated to provide council with the support that it truly requires and deserves as the city's legislative body. These divisions will support legislative and policymaking functions to enact policies that serve and advance the interests of the community, its oversight function in monitoring and holding the administration to account for its performance, and in representing the constituents of the various wards and the people of the entire city. So with that teaser, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to focus on the immediate next steps to achieve this vision, which are on this slide. First and foremost, of course, is passage of the ordinance before you to effectuate the transfer of the policy and research and oversight and evaluation divisions. This repositions those existing functions, as I have described in detail, under the Office of Clerk alongside other existing divisions to support the City Council and its committees. I believe it will enable us to leverage synergies between those divisions to drive improved service and support for council. With leadership from our new Chief Assistant City Clerk, we want to re-examine the landscape analysis of comparable jurisdictions with their legislative departments. Now is the time to really level set and get the foundations for a permanent professional council staff in place. And that analysis will not only reveal how other cities are supporting their legislative bodies, but also how we can build for the future by evaluating more mature models in similar government structures. We'll need to partner, obviously, with our internal service departments. Those include Finance and Property Services and Human Resources, specifically, to identify and sequence out our priorities for future investments, which will begin with the 2026 budget and into future years. And finally, in keeping with existing directives that are already in place, with great appreciation to Council Members Wansley and Palmisano for this, we want to be able to be sure that we come back and track our work and be held accountable by the council through regular reports to this body as we implement this change. So we appreciate that this work supports council most directly, but obviously through council, our department also serves the entire community. We appreciate that your constituents and our community deserve to know how we're building this department to better serve and support City Council now and into the future. So with that, Mr. Chair, I've completed my prepared comments. Before I close, I do want to give thanks and appreciation to Andrew Hawkins and to Jody Molinar-Hansen, both interim directors for these two divisions who are subject to this transfer. They have been leading, as you are aware, their respective teams in an interim capacity for a very long time now, more than a year. And I appreciate their patience as we work together through this process. I want to both recognize their contributions and the contributions of their teams during this extended transition process and the leadership that they've been providing. So with that, I'm happy to respond to any questions that the committee might have.
Thank you, Clerk Carl, for that presentation. I did want to note that Councilmember Rita is here with us, if we can note that for attendance. And I will now open the public hearing, and we'll move into the question part after this. For anybody who has signed up to speak or would like to do so. Great. Seeing no one wishes to speak, and I'll give one last call. I will now close that public hearing, and our colleagues, the first person on queue is Council President Payne.
Thank you, Chair Chavez, and thank you, Mr. Carl, for this presentation and, just doing some grounding and level setting. But I was wondering if I could call on the city attorney to speak to this as well, just by way of background. In my role as the chair of the audit committee, I've been fairly engaged in this conversation and the discussion around how the current structure of this department aligned with the charter came up late in the year last year. We did discuss this last year and that this ordinance would be moving forward, but I was just wondering if the city attorney could ground us in the why behind it, because I think Mr. Carl's presentation was really grounded in the what we're doing, but if you could just reinforce the why behind this. And I haven't had an opportunity to speak with all of my colleagues in depth on this. Some I have. There are some questions, and hopefully that could help clarify some things.
Mr. Chair, council members, Clerk Carl actually did a very nice job setting the framework and really communicating about the legal opinion as well. But it really sort of boils down to two things. One, in the charter, the auditor's responsibilities are identified, and the policy and research, oversight and evaluation as they've been conceived don't actually fall within those charter responsibilities, and the charter is very specific as to what the auditor can do, but then much more expansive in terms of what can fall under the city clerk, which is why, frankly, we looked at this structure, and the city clerk is really there to provide, as Clerk Carl said, the overall nonpartisan support for the council. So one piece of this is, what can legitimately fall within the auditor's responsibilities under the charter. But the second, and frankly more important piece, is that the charter really hones in on the independence of the auditor. And in fact, the auditor has to be so independent that the auditor can even audit the council. And so to have these functions that really are at the core of them, support for the council, we've seen over the course of, how this is played out over the course of the year, we all know very clearly the council can't direct the auditor because of that independence. But PAR and O&E, the way the ordinances were written, direction and it can come directly from the council, and that is, it does not square with that independence of the auditor. PAR and O&E, again, really are supposed to be resources for the council, and in order to preserve the independence of the auditor and still have PAR and O&E have the kind of responsiveness to the council that was intended for these two groups, the right way to deal with that, to preserve that independence, is actually to move those council support functions out of the auditor and then into the city clerk's office, which again, has this very broad general council support function. So having this restructuring, it really serves to operationalize what's in the charter and also give the city council the access that it deserves and needs from the policy and research and oversight functions as they've been designed. So, that's sort of quick and dirty. Obviously, the legal opinion is part of the LIMS file as well.
That's helpful. I just wanted to have that discussion in public a little bit more, because I just wanted to also bring in the original legislative intent. It was myself and Vice President Chug Tai last term that added oversight and evaluation, and I know that I had a lot of conversation with the previous auditor around policy and research as well. And just by way of background, I was on the performance management innovation team before I was elected, and one of the dynamics that I'd experienced trying to do performance management on the admin side was always a little bit of a conflict of needing to get permission to get access to information or permission to measure performance from the admin. And there was always a power dynamic that was related to working within the administration and seeking oversight metrics from the administration. There was always a little bit of a conflict there, in my opinion. My legislative intent around having some of these functions within the auditor's office was to insulate a little bit of those power dynamics. Mr. Clerk, could you speak to how we can still uphold that legislative intent with this move?
Through the chair, Council President, I don't have any specific explanations or things to offer in terms of how we overcome that, except for probably the basics, which is good relationships between the legislative department and the executive branch. I think that the staff have worked hard to build those relationships and work together fairly well, and that ultimately what I would envision this policy research and oversight team being are really the interface between the council and legislative department with the administration, such that they're working collaboratively on such a regular basis that there is a sense of camaraderie and team between them, notwithstanding the separation of branches.
One concern that raises is that we already have the authority in the charter to seek information from the administrative branch, and that's been affirmed by a number of discussions up here on the dais. But we also see that we sometimes get some pushback from the administrative branch when we do seek out information. And I have a caution on that, because it's not like those conflicts have been resolved at this point, and I don't know that this either helps resolve those conflicts or it just adds another dynamic into those conflicts. So it's just something I think we really need to consider as we're making this move. I might have some other thoughts, but I see other folks in queue, so.
Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. Also, thank you, Clerk Hall, for this presentation. Of course, I want to first start off by saying I appreciate the time and effort that's being taken into helping this body really think through how we develop the legislative branch of government as we're still in this transition process post-government government structure implementation. I will note, though, I am still concerned just by the siloed approach that also feels very present. I think Council President Payne highlighted that I think not all of us has been engaged. It was at the end of last year, while we were in the throes of budget, where this was raised as a red flag, and I don't think we've had a really full opportunity to dive into the full impacts, CAO's, Anderson's legal opinions around this, especially in light of other conversations we've had in committees about what is the future of strategic plans and all these things. Those things have not been fleshed out, and those are all components that's about supporting this legislative branch being effective in its work. So that said, I do wish we have had more intentional conversations last year about the scope of work and vision that current council members have as it relates to expanding our capacity, and how we actually go about fulfilling our responsibilities as it pertains to policymaking, oversight, and our budgetary authority. And Clerk Carl, you were the main one in 2022 that was we're in this implementation phase, and one of the benefits of pursuing an ordinance approach first was it allows us to do a try before you buy it type of dynamic. And I think we haven't had a full conversation about how the first 3 years have went, some of the things that Council President has already raised in your comments, and then what changes need to be made. And I'm anticipating that those conversations about legislative reform, as you highlighted, that Council Member Palmisano and I initiated last year as well. I had hoped we would have continued that as a body for a full discussion last year, and I understand why that might not have happened, but I don't necessarily feel comfortable today with making further changes until we do have that big picture conversation about what is currently working well, what is not working well, and then what's missing. I don't want to move into this process doing a piecemeal approach. We've already seen the negative impacts of just throwing together government structure without a strong analysis, and I want to avoid replicating those mistakes, especially on the legislative side. And I think if we take more time and consideration of all options, we can get there, and those options can even include possible technical charter changes that might help to reconcile whatever structure this body decides on. And I also know the Charter Commission is having conversations about council structure even now, so I think this is timely. So that said, I would like some more time to be able to dig deeper into this. Actually, I'm going to be bringing something forward that I think will help to structure this conversation and hopefully get some reconciliation around some of those outstanding questions in the next cycle. So I do want to appreciate Council President Payne bringing this forward, and also Clerk Carl on you being the lead and helping us figure out how do we build this legislative department. I just would like some more time to really flesh that out.
Councilmember Koski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you so much, Clerk Carl. I appreciate the presentation. I appreciate the city attorney with that additional information. So I do understand the why and the legal opinion. I'm just curious, and I'm not sure if it was you, Clerk Carl, or perhaps our new city auditor. Could you tell me what was the process to get from the why to the recommendation to today that you went through to get this recommendation?
Through the chair, I'll just say, Councilmember Koski, the why was the determination by your city attorney that there's a legal conflict between the charter requirements and provisions of what the city auditor can and cannot do, and what else is available, which is the clerk's office under the city council. So keeping these functions means functionally transferring two divisions under the auditor to the clerk. And the only decision was, what do we do with them? And that was putting them under the clerk. So there are 10 FTEs, 5 in policy and research, and 5 in oversight and evaluation. And you can see all I've done is move them under the clerk. The next steps, as I outlined on that last slide, are we're going to have to work to implement what does it mean to have that division in the clerk's office, what functions and services are they going to provide beyond what's being done today, how does that develop into the future, working with our partners in human resources and budget to make that transition and to really start defining, I think, that term that the charter uses, a council staff. We have, throughout my term here, referred to council staff as the aides. The charter is very clear. There's a council staff who are not the aides, and then there are aides. And you are required to have a council staff. The aides are permissive. So for me, this allows us to, as the attorney I think alluded to, align with what the charter requires, avoid the conflict of objectivity and independence with the auditor that exists today, and allow these services to continue working with the council and to develop into the future. So I don't see what Councilmember Wansley said about this is being rushed. It's moving the functions from one department head in the legislative department to the other with a transition period to say what are those going to be, how are they going to develop into the future.
Okay, thank you. Can you just go back to the chart there? So just digging into this a little bit, and I understand that it's just, in your terms, simply moving those two from the auditor to under the city clerk. So who was it, you and the city auditor that made that decision of that being the best place? I'm just wondering if there was like an organizational design consultant that was brought in to discuss like what the city council's legislative side could look like. I know as a council we have asked to have, and we have in the budget actually, for communications, and have wanting to think about how are we going to expand the legislative side. Was any outside consultant brought in to think about how we could look at this a little bit more broadly?
Through the chair, Councilmember, no, not at this point. Those are next steps. This is simply moving FTEs and functions from one office in the legislative department to another. So they clearly don't fit with elections and voter services, so I didn't merge them with that existing division. They clearly don't merge with records and information management, and they have an alignment with but are different from legislative support and operations. So I've chosen to show them as their own box.
So that is part of the next steps, is to
Yep.
bring in a consultant, an organizational design consultant, to help us think about how do we expand the legislative.
I think the first step, Councilmember, is to work with our partners in HR and finance to make sure that we have the right positions, the right classifications within the city structure. It's possible we could have a consultant. In fact, I think I shared with leadership at one point that was my plan. I don't know if we need a consultant, but I would certainly consider it.
Okay. Okay, thanks, I appreciate it.
Vice Chair Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Clerk, for your presentation and your work on this. I was looking forward to this presentation just to get a better understanding of just the work itself. I think like out of this presentation, I got very, very clear on the why and the reasoning. And I think like coming into this meeting, there was just a little bit of like piecemealed information on the why for this type of change. I think on my end, and I won't speak for any other member, I see this work really, really in service to wanting to support the city council. That's what you've said. That's what I see the intent very clearly as. And at the same time, I don't feel like as a member of this council, I've had the time to weigh in or fully understand these changes. I know I'm hearing from you, it's a simple movement of FTEs to one space to another. But when I'm looking at the policy change itself, I see it as a significant shift within how we're structuring our legislative department. And it very well may be for the positive, all right? That's the intent. That's what I think we're all trying to get better at. However, I'm looking through the policy document itself, and I have line-by-line questions, and just like some concerns that very well may be mitigated through a conversation. Like, for example, like we're striking out policy and research and oversight and evaluation as a whole, and then we're bucketing it totally into council staff. I kind of want to get a better understanding of why we're doing that instead of having policy and research as a whole division within clerks. What does that mean in terms of the future and strategically what we're going to do? And also, I think we have to talk about policy and research and oversight and evaluation separately. They're like not the same thing. They have very different functions and a very different history. And the thing that I would find to be very, very valuable, and I'm hearing from potentially other members on this body, is a chance to have a briefing and a chance to discuss. I think it's great that we had this presentation today, and I think it informs us better to have a conversation with you, because I really want to understand like more fully what is your vision, and then how does that relate to our new auditor and the vision there, because I want the success of the legislative department. And then I think personally as a council member, I've figured out how policy and research and council work together over the last almost year and a half, and want to know if we're expecting a continuity and like the same type of way of working, or expecting a type of difference. And I think there's a whole personnel conversation that I'd love to have more offline about. Yeah, there's 10 FTEs, that means 10 people, and like what does that mean for them? So I don't feel prepared today to feel like I can fully say, yep, let's go ahead. And I'd love the opportunity to have a deeper conversation with you and other council members, and maybe have a little bit more understanding of visioning and strategy. So just wanted to be really transparent and communicate that with you and others that are listening.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We haven't had the public hearing yet, right?
We did.
We did. It opened and closed? Okay. I don't think we need more time here to continue to make progress on government structure. I think that right now, these two functions are inappropriately in a department that's tasked with operating under strict auditing standards. And I don't think that's good for any of them. Well, I don't think it's good for audit to be attached to these two other functions, and I think these two other functions then have difficulty because they're in this environment that has auditing standards. The attorney has said this is not a legal structure. This is not a way that we should be set up. And we've been growing. With government structure, we've been growing and we've been changing. Let's not get frozen here. Let's keep growing in this even small way. I believe this is actually an important step in building out a strong and a stronger legislative body. Objectivity and independence, those are two very important things and concerns when they are brought up by our city attorney. Like, this is the concern. Keeping these functions in audit brings into question the rest of the work of our audit department. That's important to me because I worked for a decade to create and grow that department. I don't see the need to have an outside consultant to deal with a matter that our city attorney has said is inappropriate to continue. Let's not waste money on that. And this body has had weeks to ask questions and to ask for briefings. I mean, months, really, in terms of when this was brought up. There aren't a million options here. It seems this is clear as to where it should go. Now, how it should continue to develop is something that I think we deserve to be brought into, that would actually probably benefit from all of the different questions and needs and things. But how we structure this matters, and this is a way to do better for audit and for research and for these evaluation functions that we've been building.
Councilmember Koski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A follow-up question from Councilmember Chowdhury just brought to my attention. Going to the policy and research and oversight, the 10 FTEs, do you have a breakdown of what that team will look like? I know we have 2 directors right now. Will those still stay the same, or do we know what that structure within that that actual box looks like right now?
Mr. Chair, to Councilmember Cossier's question, no, I don't. There are 10 FTEs in total, divided between 2 teams. Pushing them into the clerk's office gives us an opportunity to say, what is the right structure? What is the right organization? How do we use those FTEs and structure them such that we achieve the outcomes that council has better support to make informed decisions? So I don't have I have thoughts around that. I think that's one of the things that, as I said, in next steps, we need to talk about what does that unveil to be? What does that evolve in terms of how is it structured? How does it perform? How does it relate to the council and committees? So that's yet to be decided.
Okay, it's yet to be decided, but you said you do have some thoughts on it.
Sure,
can you share
No,
what you're, okay.
but I'd be happy to share with you
Okay.
as we get into that.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Chair Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think I'll just speak for myself. I don't have any objection to the city attorney's point, right, around maintaining the independence of audit. I think that's really, really important. But I'll just reiterate, I don't think there is harm in just giving a few more weeks to actually have some structured time to talk about this. And understand the vision of the clerk's office, understand the vision of the audit's office, and I'll be really honest, we have so many different items that come before us, and I think when it comes to government structure change and things like this, I think it should be a practice of us as a council and the legislative department for briefings to be offered, because these are not small changes. They have big impacts, and again, it's to the service of the city council and our performance improving, and so I want to be a part of that. And I don't think the on-ramp for that was there, but I think we have an opportunity to make that happen, right? I think we can grow, and this is what this is all about. So that's what I'd appreciate it, and if we do take up the vote today, I just will not feel comfortable supporting it.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I just respond to that there are, as has been alluded to, and I don't want to discuss personnel matters in public, there are people attached to this, people who are in interim positions, and I think they deserve to know what their future is going to be. So to the extent that we want to be good as employers, it's good for them to know, where are we going to go? What's the future? I don't know what that future is. I do know they're not going to be under the auditor, so getting them under the clerk and providing some kind of direction to the future about how that grows, I think is not only good for the council, I think it's good for the department, and I think it's really good for the people who have been in an interim capacity for over a year. So would point that out. Although I have hesitated from getting into personnel decisions, I think there are real people in these jobs, and they would like to have some sense of firmness or finality about what direction they're going in.
Council President Payne.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. I just want to state for the record, I'm really hoping that we can get to a consensus on this and that this wouldn't particularly be a controversial vote. I am hearing some hesitation, and I would definitely like to get those sources of, or the lack of confidence into a more confident place. One thing that might help, Mr. Clerk, is as close as I've been to this, it's not clear to me what council actions would have to happen next. And actually, my first reading of the ordinance, I said, oh, okay, this isn't a big deal. It's kind of less prescriptive, but, giving some general direction and gives more flexibility to make decisions. But what's not clear to me is what council actions would follow after this.
There would obviously, through the chair, council president, any budgetary implications have to come to the council, right? I think it would be incumbent on anyone who reports to the council to involve them in thought processes around a structure that supports them. But management of the department is not a council function. That's the clerk's job. So I think the clerk has to bring and be smart to be responsive to the council. Formally, I think those are related to the actions of budget, formal structural issues. I'll note that one of the things I think was a mistake was putting two specific divisions structured very similarly with the exact same language but different titles into our code. You'll notice that's not in the clerk's office. The code doesn't mention elections and voter services division under the clerk, but we have one. That's a budgetary and organizational management decision. Same thing with records and information management, legislative support and operations. That's a management function of organizing the resources of a department. So clearly, the staff that is supporting council is going to have an interest in that. And anyone who's in my position would be foolhardy to try and make big decisions about the staff that support council without actively engaging council. So I think everyone on this body knows that I'm in the office pretty much every single day. If you want to hear about my ideas or you want to consult me, I'm here. I'm available, phone call away when I'm not in the office, and so happy to consult on what is next and what happens. I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to improve the services that council gets. I'm committed to making that happen. I think all of you want that outcome. I think the staff in play want that outcome. I don't know if that answered your question, but is my best attempt.
No, that's helpful, because the other piece here, and again, I'm going to put my audit chair hat on, is that we're having a big conversation about council staff, but this is also a significant impact on our new city auditor, and in fact, reducing the total size of the auditor by more than half with this potential change. And notice of introduction for this was the same week as the auditor's very first day on the job, and very grateful to you, Mr. Timmerman, for diving deep into the deep end on your very first week and being able to be responsive to this, try to wrap your head around the history, the context, where we are, and some of the legal opinion. I know that you just got a memo to us out late last week. That helped inform my thinking on this, but I'm still even processing it myself, and I've been pretty deeply engaged on this, and I can understand how other council members who maybe haven't been following along as closely would also struggle to understand maybe some more of these answers of what is that structure to the 10 FTEs, or, what's the current way that could be structured versus 5 years from now. And I could see a lot of value in being able to have some of those conversations before having to take this action up. So I would definitely be amenable to holding this a cycle or two so that we could actually get into some of those deeper details. So I just wanted to invite that, because I really don't think this should be controversial. I think that this should just be us further refining the reality of this new government structure. I also want to make sure that our audit committee is actually informed by these changes. And I know that the auditor sent out the memo also to the audit committee, but they're only here every other month, so they don't get a lot of opportunity for deeper conversation. And I haven't had the opportunity to do any individual conversations with audit committee members, so I would value some time to do that as well, because I really want I want to get this right.
Council President, are you making a motion?
Yes, I will make a motion to continue us to, and I know we have award week, and I had one conversation where a cycle felt like a little bit rushed too. I think the next, I'm looking at this right, April 29th would be next a cow from there.
So that's your motion?
Yes.
To delay
Continue this to the April 29th, and that would give us time to both get council members informed and audit committees members informed. Their availability is very unclear to me, so.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Oh, wait. I gotta look at the queue. Yes, okay, so. Council Vice President Chuck Tai.
My comments were about the underlying motion, and I don't have anything on the motion before us right now. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We can do a roll call.
Councilmember Payne.
Aye.
Wansley.
Aye.
Rainville.
Aye.
Vitak.
No.
Ellison.
Aye.
Osman.
Aye.
Cashman.
Aye.
Jenkins.
Nay.
Chuktai.
Aye.
Koski.
Aye.
Palmasana.
No.
Vice Chair Chowdhury.
Aye.
Chair Chavez.
Aye.
There are 10 ayes and 3 nays.
And that motion carries. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Clerk. We will have this presentation back 2 meetings from now. Our next item is confirming the city clerk's appointment of Kelly Giesler for the position of Chief Assistant City Clerk. Clerk Carl, if you may give that presentation as well.
The request before you is confirming my appointment of Kelly Giesler to the newly created position of Chief Assistant City Clerk. Chief Assistant Clerk serves as the operational leader for the Legislative Department, partners with the clerk and auditor on day-to-day work of the department and delivery of its services. The position assures a line of succession and continuity in the office of City Clerk by assuming and performing the full range of duties and functions assigned by law and city charter to the City Clerk. Kelly Giesler returns to the city of Minneapolis after having served nearly 5 years as city clerk in the city of Rochester. As a consequence, Ms. Giesler has direct experience in the duties and functions of city clerk in a city of the first class in Minnesota. She is an active member in the Minnesota Clerks and Finance Officers Association. She earned her professional certification as a certified municipal clerk from the International Institute of Municipal Clerks, demonstrating a commitment to the profession and to her own continued professional development within the field. Moreover, she holds a law degree from the University of St. Thomas, giving her unique perspective and greater depth in her appreciation for the work of the municipal clerk. As provided under Section 8.120E of the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances, the city clerk shall appoint an assistant city clerk to an indefinite term, subject to the consent of the city council, and may appoint additional assistant clerks in the same manner. With this new position, we are establishing a chief assistant that will be a direct report to the city clerk. The chief assistant clerk will provide oversight, direction, and coordination for the other assistant clerks and for the various divisions within the office of city clerk. I'm pleased to present my appointment of Kelly Giesler to the position of chief assistant city clerk and ask the council to grant its consent. Assuming the council does consent, Ms. Giesler is set to take up her responsibilities in the position beginning April 7th. With that, I've completed my prepared comments. I'm sure Ms. Giesler would welcome the opportunity to offer a few comments as well.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And Kelly, please come up. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair. Always height problems here. 1 second. There we go. Thank you, Chair Chavez, council members. As Clerk Carl stated, my name is Kelly Giesler. I am coming to you from the city of Rochester, but originally having worked here at the city of Minneapolis. I just jotted down a few comments here so I wouldn't ramble. As Casey said, with a favorable vote from you all this week, I'll be starting hopefully on April 7th. I began my clerk career, actually started here at the city of Minneapolis in 2012, working for Council Vice President Robert Lilligren at the time. I then worked for Councilmember Cano, and then in 2015, thanks to Jackie Hansen, she gave me a job in the clerk's office, even though I had no experience. And 4 years later, I went off to the city of Rochester to be the deputy city clerk, working for another Minneapolis alumni, Anessa Hollingshed, who then subsequently moved on to an out-of-state job, and I took over as the city clerk in 2020 in the middle of a pandemic in a general election year. And so that was a pretty massive learning curve, and but all things went well, and I've really enjoyed my experience down there. I'm thrilled, though, to be coming back to Minneapolis, and I'm officially back in Minneapolis as of yesterday, completing my moving duties about 2 a.m. last night. Kind of rough. Having grown up in the North Metro and having a lifelong deep affection for the city of Minneapolis and its community, I really am excited to return to this role. I've already spent some time refreshing relationships and making some new connections, and if I haven't had an opportunity to meet with you yet, I look forward to doing that either tomorrow or in the very near future. I'm excited to put my skills and strengths to work for Clerk Carl and for the full council, and most importantly, of course, for the community here in Minneapolis. With its robust history of civic engagement, I'm eager to contribute, collaborate, and help drive the council's work through coordination and execution of high-quality process management, along with other key functions of the city clerk's office. And so I hope you'll vote yes. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly, and thanks for being here today and for choosing Minneapolis. I'll see if anybody is on queue. Vice Chair Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair. Kelly, just thank you so much for coming to the city of Minneapolis. I didn't get an opportunity to meet with you, so I just wanted to get an opportunity to say I read a lot about you, heard a lot of great things from my colleagues who got to meet with you. Thank you for coming back to the city of Minneapolis and bringing your talents to us over here. Just excited for the opportunity to get to know you and excited to just support you today.
Through the chair, may I just say thank you, council member, and I live in your ward, so we'll have an opportunity to chat.
That's amazing. We can grab coffee in the ward.
I would love that.
All right. Council President Payton.
Thank you, Chair Chavez, and thank you for being here. It was just really great to get to sit down with you one-on-one, learn more about you and just your background, and it really does sound like you're going to be a really powerful team with Clerk. And as you see today, we are very much still building out what the potential is of this new government structure, and I'm just really glad that you're here on the ground floor and you get to have the time to really help to develop that in collaboration with us. So, thank you.
Thank you, council member, council president.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Chavez, and hello, Ms. Geisler. It's great to see you back. I think I was around on your very first day at the city of Minneapolis, and watching you sort of transcend through multiple areas of the city and departments and grow in your educational pursuits, as well as becoming familiar with the role of city clerk, and then taking those skills to Rochester and returning back now is I think a testament to your own ambitions, but as well as the things that you were able to learn here at the city of Minneapolis. So it's great to see you back, and hopefully my colleagues will be supporting your nomination. I will. So
thank you, Councilmember Jenkins.
Seeing no further discussions, may I have a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Second.
Great. And the clerk can call the roll.
Councilmember Payne.
Aye.
Walmsley.
Aye.
Rainville.
Aye.
Vita.
Aye.
Ellison.
Aye.
Osmond.
Aye.
Cashman.
Aye.
Jenkins.
Aye.
Chiptai.
Aye.
Koski.
Aye.
Palmisano. Aye. Vice Chair Chowdhury.
Aye.
Chair Chavez.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
And that motion carries. Congratulations. Next, we have a discussion related to multiple organization contracts for the 2025 Minneapolis services. I'll welcome Leah Lakes from the Neighborhood Safety Department to present further on this item. Welcome.
Chair Chavez, council members, my name is Leah Lakes. I'm the Deputy Director of Neighborhood Safety. Thank you for this opportunity to present on the 2025 process for the Minneapolis Violence Interrupter Strategic Outreach Initiative Request for Proposal process. The primary aim of this RFP was to select and identify partners with qualified organizations to perform critical violence interruption work in our communities based off of the Cure Violence model. This innovative approach represents a targeted approach to violence prevention through direct intervention and community engagement. At the heart of this program are our trained violence interrupters and outreach workers. These dedicated professionals serve a critical role in our community by identifying and mediating potentially lethal conflicts within designated geographic areas. Their work doesn't stop at initial intervention. They also conduct thorough follow-up and ensure that conflicts don't reignite, creating lasting peace in our neighborhoods. By implementing this evidence-based approach, we are taking proactive steps to reduce violence and create safer communities for all of our residents. Violence interrupters providing services under this contract must follow the Cure Violence model. The Cure Violence model is a groundbreaking approach to violence prevention. This model approaches violence through a public health lens, treating it as an infectious disease that spreads through community interactions. This interaction approach has transformed how we understand and address violence in urban settings. The model operates under three key principles. First, it identifies and works with high-risk individuals who may be transmitters of violent behavior. Second, it emphasizes early interventions to prevent violent incidents before they occur. And third, it focuses on stopping further spread of violence in communities. What makes this model particularly effective is its relationship-building approach. Unlike traditional emergency response systems, our community violence interrupters operate through established relationships and trust networks. Their effectiveness comes from their deep connections within the community and their ability to identify and respond to potential violence based on various information that they've cultivated. Since its initial pilot in Chicago in 2008, this model has demonstrated significant success across the United States and internationally. It has proven adaptable to several forms of violence, from gang-related incidents to domestic violence to school safety concerns. The approach has been rigorously evaluated through comprehensive assessments and extensively documented in more than a dozen studies and reports. These statistics aren't just numbers. They represent lives saved and communities transformed. By rigorous implementation of the Cure Violence model in Minneapolis, we position ourselves to achieve similar results in our own communities. Organizations who follow the Cure Violence model detect and interrupt potential conflicts before they turn violent. These teams respond immediately to incidents, working to prevent retaliation and mediate ongoing disputes. They stay engaged with these situations for as long as needed, sometimes months, to ensure conflicts remain resolved. Also, they work directly with individuals at the highest risk of violence, using their existing relationships as credible messengers within their communities. Using trauma-informed approaches, our outreach workers meet people where they're at and help them access needed services like jobs or treatment while showing them alternatives to violence. they also mobilize the entire community to change norms around violence. When incidents occur, our teams organize community responses that send a clear message. Violence is not acceptable in our neighborhoods. They work with local leaders, businesses, faith organizations, and residents to build a culture of peace. This comprehensive approach has proven effective in reducing violence in cities across the country. By treating violence as a public health issue and employing the trust of community members as agents of change, we create a sustainable solution that makes our city safe for everyone. Community-based organizations awarded Minneapolis contracts serve as the managers of this violence interruption team. Their responsibilities include recruiting and managing qualified and credible violence interrupters and outreach workers, ensuring daily operations align with program and community needs, maintain strong community connections and relationships, and manage the day-to-day activities and scheduling, and also providing direct supervision and support to interrupter and outreach workers. The City of Minneapolis Neighborhood Safety Department provides critical program management support, including overall program oversight, communication and coordination, performance monitoring and evaluation, contract management and compliance, resource allocation, and budget management. Cure Violence Global serves as our technical assistance partner. They provide evidence-based training and methodology, program implementation guidance, quality assurance support, best practices, and model fidelity assistance. This three-way partnership ensures our violence prevention efforts maintain both local relevance and professional standards while following proven methodologies. Each entity plays a vital role in the program's success, creating a comprehensive approach to violence prevention in our communities. To create this RFP for this work, we worked with multiple partners in our planning process for the Minneapolis Strategic Outreach RFP. Neighborhood Safety Department engaged with Cure Violence Global for technical assistance during the RFP process. Their expertise in violence prevention strategies has been invaluable in shaping our approach and ensuring we implement best programming requirements in our RFP. Neighborhood safety staff also worked to carefully craft requirements in the RFP that align within the city's goals and objectives. We have maintained a strong collaborative relationship with the procurement process, or with the procurement department. Their guidance has been essential in ensuring a fair and transparent procurement process. Additionally, the City Attorney's Office has provided crucial support to ensuring our RFP complies with both city and federal requirements. Their oversight helped guarantee that our contracting process meets all legal standards and protects the interests of our communities. This comprehensive approach to the RFP planning demonstrates our commitment to establishing strong, compliant, and effective violence prevention programs for Minneapolis. The RFP for the Minneapolis Strategic Outreach Initiative was reviewed by the Permanent Review Committee and was found to be in compliance with all procurement policies, laws, and other directives. To attract a wide variety of qualified potential responders, the Neighborhood Safety Department conducted an extensive outreach effort as a part of the review for proposal process. We successfully distributed go-delivery notifications to over 7,000 subscribers, ensuring a broad awareness of our RFP. Through our e-supplier portal, we reached over 700 bidders and suppliers, expanding our potential contractor pool. All incumbent vendors were directly notified of this opportunity. Our neighborhood safety contract specialists also conducted targeted outreach efforts, including direct email communication to more than 150 partners, community organizations, and external stakeholders, including representatives from Hennepin County, the state, and other cities of St. Paul and Minneapolis. Personal contact with 58 previous and current contract holders was also done to ensure that they were aware of this opportunity. This comprehensive outreach approach demonstrates our commitment to inclusive procurement practices and ensuring all qualified organizations have the opportunity to participate in our violence prevention initiatives. I would like to highlight the comprehensive support we provided potential responders during our RFP process. We were dedicated to providing comprehensive training and guidance to potential responders as they navigate the RFP application process. To support potential responders, we conducted a pre-proposal meeting that serves as an invaluable opportunity for potential responders to gain a detailed understanding of our program requirements and expectations, to meet key staff members and network with other organizations, to ask qualifying questions about proposals, and to ask clarifying questions directly to the Cure Violence team members who were in attendance as expected in their model. Additionally, we implemented a structured question and answer period that allowed potential responders to submit detailed questions about the RFP requirements, better understand the scope of work and evaluation criteria, address technical concerns about the submission process. Our neighborhood safety department staff remained available throughout this period to provide technical assistance and clarification as needed and as appropriate. This support structure helped ensure that all potential responders had equal access to information and resources necessary for submitting competitive proposals. We have established a rigorous 100-point evaluation framework that ensures a thorough and fair assessment of each submission. The program overview portion of the evaluation criteria carries the highest weight of 40 points. This selection evaluates the organization's approach to violence prevention, their understanding of our community needs, and their proposed implementation of this strategy. The cost proposal and budget narrative accounts for 20 points. Here, we assess the financial feasibility and effectiveness of the proposed programs, ensuring responsible use of public funds while maintaining program effectiveness. Staff qualifications and management was also worth 20 points. This evaluates the experience and capabilities of the proposed teams, ensuring they have the expertise necessary to deliver successful outcomes. Financial management and reporting were worth 10 points. This component examines the organization's ability to maintain accurate financial records and provide transparent reporting. And finally, the financial risk assessment was also 10 points, and that evaluated the organization's financial stability and capacity to manage public funds reasonably. Each proposal was evaluated by a diverse panel of experts using these criteria, ensuring a thorough and impartial selection process. In our commitment to implement effective violence prevention strategies, we have rigorously followed the violence prevention or the Cure Violence model throughout the negotiation process, while working in close partnership with the City of Minneapolis Procurement Department to ensure that our selection procedures maintain the highest standards of transparency and compliance. This collaborative approach, combining proven violence prevention methodologies with robust procurement practices, positions us to select partners who will best serve our community's needs. After carefully rating the different organizations using our comprehensive scoring system, we have identified organizations that were the top scorers in this RFP process and demonstrated exceptional potential to serve our community. The top scoring organizations, in no particular order, are A Mother's Love Initiative, Touch Outreach, Restoration Inc., Sabathani Community Center, and Mad Dads. Each of these organizations demonstrates strong alignment with our program's objectives, financial responsibility, and proven capacity to implement effective violence prevention strategies. Their proposals reflect a deep understanding of our community's needs and strong commitment to the Cure Violence model. We look forward to working with these organizations to strengthen our violence prevention efforts across Minneapolis. Based on the extensive consultation with Cure Violence Global, I'm pleased to report significant enhancements in our new Minneapolis contracts, reflecting an evidence-based approach that aligns with Cure Violence methodologies. Our new program structure includes several key changes. Strict model adherence. We now follow and document adherence to core principles in the core violence model, or in the Cure Violence model, with comprehensive documentation systems that track our alignment with established best practices that is supported by Cure Violence Global. Standardized documentation. Our daily debrief tool is hosted and written by Cure Violence Global in collaboration with NSD, enabling better outcome data without losing locally relevant information. This data is owned by the City of Minneapolis and is hosted by Cure Violence Global. We've also implemented standardized contract language and reporting requirements across all of our programs around making sure that our service delivery and evaluation metrics are consistent. We've implemented data-driven deployment, where our teams are now operating based on detailed data analysis, focusing on high-priority areas, such as specific housing complexes and residential communities, where violence prevention is most prevalent. Strategic team structure. We've adapted a more effective deployment model with smaller mobile teams. A geographic assessment. Each team now has clearly designated areas of service, eliminating overlap and ensuring comprehensive coverage of priority zones. And coordinated operations. We've established a unified approach across all teams with standardized protocols, uniforms, and regular coordination meetings to ensure consistent service delivery. These improvements represent a significant step forward in our violence prevention efforts, allowing us to deliver more focused, effective, and measurable results in our community. We have updated our hiring and conduct policies in the new Minneapolis contracts, which have been helped to ensure both program effectiveness and community safety. Our hiring processes include several key protocols: rigorous background screenings. All new staff members undergo a thorough background check. Active warrant policy. We maintain a strict policy based on guidance from Cure Violence Global that individuals with active warrants will not be considered for employment in these new roles. Grandfather clause. Staff members who were hired before the execution of the new contracts will continue under the background check policies of their respective contract organizations. And regarding substance use policies, there's a zero tolerance during work. We maintain a strict prohibition on the use of alcohol, marijuana, or any recreational drug during working hours or while wearing city apparel. Drug testing framework. NSD retains the right to conduct drug testing if there's a reasonable concern about substance use during shifts. Observable indicators. Testing may be initiated based on concerning behaviors such as slurred speech, drowsiness, or other signs that might impact job performance. These policies reflect our commitment to maintaining high professional standards while recognizing the unique nature of violence prevention work within our communities. Next, I'll be sharing the geographic recommendations for coverage that were calculated by Cure Violence Global. I would like to share the details about the rigorous, data-driven methodology used by Cure Violence Global to establish our geographic focus areas. Their approach involved comprehensive analysis of 5 years of Minneapolis crime data, ensuring our interventions were targeted where they're most needed. This methodology focused on 2 main aspects: an in-depth analysis of violence incidents. Cure Violence Global examined the National Incident-Based Reporting System data from 2019 to 2025, specifically focusing on incidents involving injury, including aggravated assaults and homicide. Through careful examination of these incident patterns and frequencies across different areas, Cure Violence Global determined the optimal community program placement. The strategic area planning was 8 maps that were designed to effectively be served by teams of 7 to 10 staff members. This data-driven approach represents our resources are deployed with maximum efficiency and impact, focusing on areas where violence prevention efforts can make the most significant difference in our communities. The key findings from the analysis included that violence patterns were primarily concentrated in residential areas and communities, rather than commercial or shopping districts. This identified the need to focus our intervention efforts on the neighborhood level. The analysis revealed similar patterns of violence spread across multiple areas, indicating systematic issues that require consistent intervention approaches. Many of the identified high-risk areas were surrounded by schools and parks, highlighting the importance of protecting these vital community spaces. Based on these findings, Cure Violence has recommended deploying teams of 7 to 10 staff members in each targeted area to ensure adequate coverage and effective intervention capabilities. These insights will guide our strategic deployment of resources and help ensure violence prevention efforts have the maximum possible impact on our communities. Here you can see the 8 target areas identified by Cure Violence Global for targeted outreach work. There are 8 zones identified, and we have funding to award contracts to vendors to cover 6 of these 8 zones. The zones are clustered around the northern area of Minneapolis as well as around the central and southern. Here are some more detailed maps of the zones identified in the northern area. And then here's a more detailed map of the zones identified in the central southern areas of Minneapolis. All violence prevention teams consist of 5 interrupters, 2 outreach workers, 1 site supervisor, and 1 program manager. Violence interrupters mediate conflicts and prevent shooting. Outreach workers connect high-risk individuals to resources. Site supervisors manage teams and daily operations. And program managers oversee program implementation and strategy. All vendors were selected based on if they were a top scorer in the RFP. Those who were top scorers had their ranks tied to these 8 geographic areas identified by Cure Violence Global, as well as in alignment with their notarized references from the communities they plan on serve. Based on the geographical rankings, Restoration Inc. was assigned Area 4, Touch Outreach was assigned Area 8, A Mother's Love was assigned Area 2, Sabathany Community Center was assigned Area 7, and Mad Dads was assigned Area 5. Area 1, 3, and 6 do not currently have assigned coverage. Our staffing and scheduling framework, which has been carefully designed based on Cure Violence Global's proven methodology and local violence trend analysis, included the following key elements: data-driven scheduling. Staff working hours are strategically allocated based on detailed analysis of local violence patterns and peak incident times. 5-day coverage. Interrupters operate on a Tuesday through Saturday schedule, working 40 hours per week to ensure consistent community presence. Strategic time blocks. Hours are distributed as follows: Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m., Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, 4 p.m. to 11 a.m. Flexible adaptation. This schedule framework can be adjusted seasonally, accounting for different patterns between summer and winter months. This scheduling approach ensures our violence interrupters are present and active during the times when intervention is most critical, while maintaining sustainable workloads for our staff. The Staff Performance Accountability Framework, which has been developed in partnership with Cure Violence Global to ensure consistent, high-quality service delivery, including 3 primary components: daily performance reviews, where managers are conducting comprehensive end-of-shifting briefings with staff to discuss immediate challenges, successes, and necessary follow-up actions; weekly team assessments, with regular staff meetings, providing a forum to review program activities and outcomes, celebrate standout performances, share success stories, and address operational barriers. Individual developmental support. Each staff member receives weekly one-on-one supervision sessions, ensuring personal growth and skill development, direct feedback and guidance, clear performance expectations, opportunity for questions and clarification. This comprehensive accountability framework was developed through intensive management training provided by Cure Violence Global, ensuring our leadership team has the tools and skills needed to maintain high performance standards. In this next section, I'll outline our comprehensive program monitoring and reporting framework for Minneapolis contracts, which ensures thorough documentation and accountability in our violence prevention efforts. Our reporting structure includes several key components, which have been enhanced from current Minneapolis reporting. Daily documentation requirements. All staff members are required to complete daily detailed debrief logs capturing essential data about their activities and interactions. Conflict resolution tracking, comprehensive documentation of all medications, including initial interventions and follow-up activities to ensure successful resolution. Incident monitoring, detailed logging of violent incidents to help identify patterns and adjust intervention strategies accordingly. Participant management, thorough documentation, including initial eligibility screenings, program intake procedures, ongoing case management notes, risk needs assessments, individual goal plans, and success story documentation. Community engagement records, which includes documents of community activities and events, outreach effort locations, and established community relationships. Under the Cure Violence model, daily operations are anchored by 2 critical daily team meetings to help make sure everyone is aligned in the work and is reporting appropriately. The start of shift briefing. This is a structured meeting that covers recent incidents and shooting reports, assessment of ongoing conflicts and potential flashpoints, assessment of specific team members, and assignment to areas based on expertise and community relationships, and development of detailed shift action plans. Also, the end of shift debriefing. This is a comprehensive review, which includes documentation of any incidences that occurred during that shift, updates on active conflict mediations, reports on high-risk individuals requiring immediate attention, and information sharing about emerging community dynamics. This operational framework ensures real-time response so that our teams can quickly adapt to emerging situations, clear communication. All team members remain informed and aligned on priorities. Staff safety. Potential risks are identified and addressed proactively. Quality control. Regular review of interventions and outcomes. All of this information is maintained by Cure Violence Global and is owned by the city, ensuring standardized record keeping and enabling effective program evaluation and adjustment. This robust data management and analysis system, implemented in partnership with Cure Violence Global, ensures comprehensive tracking and evaluation of our violence prevention efforts. The Cure Violence Global Robust Data Management System ensures transparency, accountability, and continuous improvement in our violence prevention efforts. The data entered by the violence interrupters will be used to create a performance monitoring dashboard. Here is an example of what the dashboard structure could look like upon collaboration with our Cure Violence Global technical assistant providers. This line chart shows the average number of cases, or case notes, per participant over time. Other outputs would have their own dashboard visualizations, including number of participation, mediation, follow-up, medication provided, education provided, among other activities. It also provides real-time data visualization to assist in communication and targeted improvement efforts. This data-driven approach ensures our resources are deployed with maximum efficiency and impact, focusing on areas where violence prevention efforts can make the most significant difference in our communities. Our comprehensive evaluation framework for the Minneapolis program has been designed to measure both immediate and long-term impacts of our violence prevention efforts. Our evaluation strategy focus on 2 primary options: our short-term and immediate outcomes, where we measure how effectively we're increasing proactive features among program participants, including educational achievement rates, job placement and retention, community engagement levels, and access to supportive services. Long-term outcomes we are tracking is the reduction of violent crime in project areas through statistical analysis of gun violence incidents, homicide rate comparisons, and geographic crime pattern analysis. Our evaluation system employs rigorous comparative analysis and process monitoring across multiple data streams and serves 3 critical functions. Impact measurement. We quantify our interventions' direct efforts on community safety through detailed metrics and analysis. Success factor identification. Our data analysis pinpoints the most effective violence reduction strategies. Strategic resource allocation. We assure evidence-based decision-making for program investment. Additionally, our regular progress monitoring allows for agile response to emerging trends and immediate strategic adjustments as needed. This comprehensive evaluation approach ensures our violence prevention efforts remain data-driven, effective, and accountable to our community. The next section, I'll break down the amount each area costs to serve with violence interrupters who are following the Cure Violence model. The method to determine contract awards amounts for our violence prevention areas was data-driven and carefully structured to ensure both fairness and operational effectiveness. We began by conducting a thorough analysis of the proposed budget tables from selected vendors, paying particular attention to salary structures. This review helped us understand the range of compensation needed to attract and retain qualified violence interrupters and support staff. To ensure our approach aligns with best practices, we partnered with Cure Violence Global for technical assistance. Their expertise helped us standardize our funding approach across different areas while maintaining program fidelity. Our funding structure was carefully designed to maximize efficiency. We separated expenses into two categories: contracted and in-house. Contracted expenses included staff salaries, benefits, mental health resources, administrative costs, and community activities. The in-house expenses covered public education materials, uniforms, and other necessary supplies. This structured approach allowed us to maintain consistent service quality across all areas while ensuring responsible use of public resources. I would like to outline our comprehensive in-house equipment and supplies that we're providing in-house under the new contract to ensure staff have the necessary tools they need to perform their duties effectively and safely. Our equipment includes professional uniform packages, community or communication equipment, including cell phones for all staff members, and standardized communication protocols and emergency contact procedures, safety and emergency response kits, professional-grade backpacks equipped with Narcan for emergency responses, comprehensive first aid kits, and disposable gloves, as well as public education resources, such as standardized material for community engagement, and information packets to distribute during outreach activities. By managing these resources internally, we can ensure consistent quality, immediate replacement when needed, and proper maintenance of all equipment. This approach allows us to maintain the highest standard of professionalism and readiness in our violence prevention work. For each violence prevention team, we've structured the following position and salary ranges. The program manager, whose job is to oversee the entire program's implementation and effectiveness. For a site supervisor, they are responsible for the day-to-day operations and team management. The outreach workers, these are specialists who work directly with at-risk individuals and maintain community connections. And violence interruption are frontline workers who mediate conflicts and prevent violence. The total salary allocation per team is $540K, which represents a strategic investment in experienced, qualified professionals who can effectively implement our violence prevention strategy. In addition to base salaries, our comprehensive expense structure includes fringe benefits, full benefit package for all staff members to ensure we attract and retain qualified personnel, community and participant activities, funding for community engagement events and participant support services, staff mental health resources, dedicated resources for staff wellness and mental health support, which is critical for those working in high-stress environments, and administrative costs, operational expenses, including office supplies, technology, and program management tools. These expenses are funded through the general fund, including Amendment 19 earmark and the Byrne Grant. In summary, our comprehensive coverage requires a total investment of approximately $730K per target geographic area. This total breaks down into the two main components of salary cost and our additional operational cost. This investment of roughly $730K per coverage area represents the resources required to implement a fully staffed, properly supported violence prevention program that adheres to the proven Cure Violence model. This funding ensures we maintain a professional standard and comprehensive approach necessary for the program to succeed. Following approval at the Committee of the Whole today, our proposal would proceed to the full council on March 27th. Upon full council approval, we expect council action to be published between April 3rd and 8th, depending on the administrative turnaround. We're targeting Tuesday, April 8th, 2025 as our service start date, subject to successful completion of background checks and drug screening for all staff. Our incumbent partners, Mad Dads, Restoration Inc., and Touch Outreach are already receiving Cure Violence training under their existing contracts. Our new partners of Sabathani and A Mother's Love Initiative will begin their training within 2 to 3 weeks of contract execution. To ensure transparency and accountability, we've developed a comprehensive dashboard that will track violence interrupter activities and community interactions. A preliminary version will be available for review at the end of May. By October 2025, we'll have 6 months of data through our Cure Violence database, providing meaningful insights into program effectiveness. Additionally, Neighborhood Safety Violence Prevention Master Contract will be implemented by July 2025 to potentially address gap areas that were previously supported during critical warmer months. This timeline reflects our commitment to thorough implementation. We're prioritizing proper training, robust data collection, and comprehensive community engagement to ensure the program's success. Thank you so much. I stand ready for questions.
Thank you for that thorough presentation. We really appreciate it. Before I open the queue up, I do know that Councilmember Osman has an item that is going to be voted on separately. So, Councilmember Osman, if you can please talk about those items, and then we'll pass it on to Councilmember Cashman.
Right. Thank you so much, Chair Chavez, and thank you for that presentation, staff. Last week, we had a huge discussion about this item. As much as I understand the Cure Violence global model, I believe that, City Riverside historically, back in 2020, former Councilmember Cano and I pushed this violent interrupter services to be placed in South Minneapolis. They were not in South Minneapolis. They were not serving South Minneapolis. They were only in North Side and downtown, so we were able to get them on Lake Street, which Touch Outreach was doing services, and also Cedar Riverside, which I believe Metro Youth Diversion was doing that. So some of you have received letters from West Bank Business Association, Cedar Cultural Center, Brian Coyle Center, University of Minnesota, Oxford College, Cedar Riverside Athletics and Enrichment, and also Elliott Park was receiving the same services, similar same services, and which we, some of you might received letters from Elliott Park Neighborhood Organization and North Central University. Cedar Riverside, when I ask the question, Cedar Riverside is not receiving these services based on the model of cure violence. And when the staff told me that the data have not supported, and my argument is that this program has existed for 4.5 years. As a council member who represent from this district, I understand that if I heard from the community, as I heard from members of business community, since this program existence, there has been huge improvement of public safety, not just safety-wise, but also like drug use of the area has really improved. These folks that have been going around, they were helping folks with that are addicted, also provide health resources and even do some of the trainings I seen organization do was opioid education and so on. So I am, on that background, I am bringing this resolution to make sure that the work that we have been doing, the work that has been effective, are not being left behind. Sometimes, it has to be a common sense. The way I understand is that services continue in that area for 4.5 years, and now taking that program away, it will create a huge injustice, in my opinion, and we don't really want to see that area coming back what it used to be 4.5 years ago. So to prevent that, I am bringing this and amending by appropriating $643,000 within 2025 Neighborhood Safety Department budget for violence interrupter services for the Cedar Riverside and Elliott Park. I see Elliott Park members who has been attendance last meeting and also are in attendance here. They have talked to me, and they have also written to the council members the impact that having these services had. So I think that as leaders, I would encourage my colleagues to really think about what the community is saying, and also what I am also have been witnessing for 4.5 years. As really, I support this contract that's coming forward, but this is separate. Let me just be clear. This is way separate than this contract. I don't even want to include it. This is just something that I'm telling the department to really think about it, use these resources, and figure out a way to make sure this community doesn't lose these services. So I appreciate my colleagues for really understanding the cultural specific programs this community has been receiving, and the cry out from the community for the last week and a half, and I would hope that you will support me to continue the services, this very important services in this geographic area, which is Cedar Riverside and Elliott Park. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman Osman. And yeah, for the public, these are two separate items. I'm just following the process of how we're supposed to do this, where these are going to be voted on separately, and they're going to be voted on as separate items on Thursday. But given that it's a related item, this is the process that I was told I had to walk through. So, I mean, if we have the city attorney can provide clarity, she has a priority motion, at least once I have a conversation too, so.
Council chair, council members. So maybe I'm going to ask the clerks to jump in and explain what the process is, since this was kind of added.
Mr. Chair, to your question and to the city attorney's question, what we had discussed earlier was that while these items are related, the subject-wise, they can certainly be, it is appropriate for Councilmember Osman to bring these amendments up as part of this discussion. But I think what the point the attorneys was trying to make is that the items should be voted on separately. The existing contract that's on the agenda should be voted on and not be contingent upon the motions that Councilmember Osman is bringing forward, and that the items on the agenda should be voted on prior to bringing up Councilmember Osman's amendments.
Sure. That makes sense. I'm happy to hold this back and have the contract voted first, and then we can bring this item after that action.
Just point of clarification, Chair. Maybe this is to the clerks. Don't we have to amend the agenda in order for us to take up this item?
Chair Chavez, to Councilmember Chowdhury's question, because these items are related and subject to the item that's on the agenda. So when we have items that are directly related to an item on the agenda, we typically we advise the chair that the agenda does not need to be amended. The attorney's point still stands and is, not in conflict. What the attorney is saying is that we can't have these items be contingent upon each other. But subject-wise, they're certainly similar and related, and it is certainly appropriate for Councilmember Osman to bring up his motion in relation to this item that's on the agenda.
Thank you.
So still separate items. They're going to show up as separate items on Thursday. That was just the process we're supposed to go through. So, okay. Next up, Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Deputy Director Licks, for the presentation. I have a couple of questions for you. And I just also do want to, thank you for being so thorough. We're all very appreciative to have much more information than we ever have had on these contracts. However, I will say I'm hoping that in the future we can cut these presentations down, because I think it was fairly lengthy for you and for all of us. But, we're learning a lot, so it's very appreciated. Everyone knows I've been asking for violence interrupters to come to 19th and Nicollet since the day I stepped into the city council seat, so I'm really thrilled to see that the data that we know in our community in Stevens Square is now apparent and obvious to the neighborhood safety department, and that resources are being brought to this geography. So I just want to have full clarity for my constituents as I'm explaining to them can you clarify why Mad Dad's chosen was chosen for Geography 5?
Chair Chavez, Councilmember Cashman. So when the locations were provided by Cure Violence Global, there are 8 locations. And so instead of us assigning the locations to the organizations that are top scoring, we had them rank the locations based on their ties to the communities, so that we can have an understanding of where their ties are, and then we cross-reference that with their notarized references as well as their proposals to ensure that the area that they selected, they do have credible ties in those areas.
Okay. Thank you. And then can you also explain how this relates to Metro Youth Diversion as a former violence interrupter vendor, now being selected as our safety ambassador vendor for the pilots starting on Lake Street in Franklin. So how was Metro Youth Diversion chosen to go from being a violence interrupter vendor to a safety ambassador vendor?
Chair Chavez, Councilmember Cashman, the RFPs were separate. So they might have scored differently in one versus the other. More people might have applied in one versus the other. So because those are 2 separate RFPs, the process for selection is different for both.
So folks who are used to seeing Metro Youth Diversion folks will probably see those same community members or those same workers for that organization on Lake Street in Franklin, just with a different uniform on and working under a slightly different capacity, but also for the city. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And then can you clarify where does the funding go for the $644 that was budgeted for the 6th contract to Salem Inc., which has now been rescinded?
Chair Chavez, Councilmember Cashman, that is still in flux. That is something I can't answer at this time.
Okay, so it's within the neighborhood safety department and it can be used towards some other level of service within the neighborhood safety department's safety goals for this year. Those are all the questions that I had. Thank you, Chair. Oh, I'm sorry. I will actually formally move this item for approval. Thank you.
Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. I'm just going to slide 12. I just want to definitely make sure there's clarification about some comments that's been made. So I know in response to the Salem Inc. Contract, Mayor Fry actually described the selection process around these contracts as basically saying they were selected largely by outside people that review applications in a blind format. That's actually those remarks. So I just want to make sure, could you really walk us through the selection process and distinguish between the roles that Cure Violence played and then city staff, and detailing, yes, what roles you all played in the selection of those vendors and moving them forward? We had this conversation in AO as well around, I'm still trying to get clarity outside of program management with the program manager for this program. Where is NSD staff expertise being leveraged in contributing to this process?
Chair Chavez, Councilmember Wansley, I'll answer the second part first, and then I'll turn it over to my colleague Shanique to give an answer on the participants who were the evaluators. The role of NSD in this is to do the administration, the contract management, making sure that the vendors are supported, doing that in-house work. The role of Cure Violence Global is that technical provider. So they're providing the advice and the research as well as the data analysis and the training. Then the community organizations are the ones doing the field work. And then,
no, sorry, continue.
And I'm going to give it to my colleague Shanique to describe the breakdown of the different evaluators.
Chair Chavez, Councilmember Wansley, I'm not able to give detailed information publicly about the evaluators because that is not public information as yet, but I can...
Just clarification, I asked for you all's roles specifically too, as staff.
Chair Chavez, Councilmember Wansley, for the writing of the RFP, that was something that the neighborhood safety did, along with procurement and Cure Violence Global. The evaluation was also, we recruited evaluators and made sure that they were qualified to do the review, as well as facilitated that process. The neighborhood safety department also wrote the language around the contracts. They also were the ones who are negotiating with the vendors, and they were also the ones who will be administering the program moving forward.
So again, I think this came up, and this wasn't AO around just still trying to understand where that expertise lies around you all in the local landscape. So for instance, we talked about this, of the Cure Violence model also has a maintenance recommendation of when you do stabilize, let's say, in which areas, Ward 5, if things stabilize there, are we looking at a situation next year where those resources are moved to a different location, and then we're in a situation where violence spikes in there because we did effective work there based off of data, and now what happens? So I think it's that piece, and you all having some understanding of like the localized dynamics, which I know Councilmember Osmond has raised very clearly. I think that's also represented in the areas that are not covered still in the recommendations from NSD. And then also, just like reading the room, like we've had folks make threats to council that are being selected too. And so again, and you all are here, and being able to distinguish or like weigh in on those local dynamics and be able to overlay that over this process to make sure that we are choosing vendors that are in alignment, yes, with those connections in the community, but you all are living in this community too, working in these communities too, to be able to point that out. So thank you for sharing the points where you all have intervened, but and maybe it could be the department is still relatively new. You all are working closely with Cure Violence to really elevate that understanding of how to do this work overall and relate that to like local ground dynamics. My next question, actually, and related to that, can you share which zones are being covered, once again, by the 5 orgs?
Chair Chavez, Councilmember Wansley, the 5 zones in the new contracts are shown on the screen. 4 of them are in the northern area of Minneapolis, and then the other 5 are in the central and southern areas.
Sorry, clarification. What zones is being covered by the selected vendor? So if you talked about that, but that wasn't detailed on the slides.
Chair Chavez, Councilmember Wansley, let me check my notes on that. Chair Chavez. Councilmember Wansley. A Mother's Love is in Area 1. Restoration Inc. is in Area 4. Touch is in Area 8. Sabathany is in Area 7. And Mad Dads is in Area 5.
Okay, thank you. And then going to slide number 29, where you talk about the more, stringent reporting requirements. Can you share more specifically, after these quarterly, reports are done, will you all be coming to council to share the findings, similar to NPD's quarterly updates? They provide, information or relevant trends. We typically have not seen that be part of NSD's presentation, but would like to know, again, how this information you're now collecting will be disseminated to us and to the public.
Chair Chavez, Councilmember Wansley, I think that's a really good idea. I'm very happy to present to council at a cadence that makes sense for our goals and what we're trying to communicate. And maybe we can even work together to develop a specific dashboard for those debriefings.
That would be awesome. PMI gave a presentation to AO earlier this year saying they want to work with departments on creating those dashboards, so would love to see that. That way the public can access this. And also, I just want to say thank you for the comprehensive presentation. Last year, I know Councilmember Chavez, Chair Chavez and I worked very closely as the leadership of the Public Health and Safety Committee around wanting to see the Neighborhood Safety Department actually administer programs that's in alignment with national best standards. And we asked that repeatedly over a year and a half, how that work was going down. We brought these providers even down to the city to say, how can we start this work with you? Because it's unclear what model is actually being used to guide the work within the Neighborhood Safety Department. So it is good to see that those best practices are finally being heeded to and incorporated in the process, and we're having some guardrails put in place. And I am very much excited about the professionalization of this work that we're seeing through the recommendations around a program manager, site advisors, and also even the salary ranges, because I do know there was no standardization beforehand where you could have some vendors that might be paying a minimum wage, some paying more than that to these workers who are literally putting their bodies on the line, and are often our most vulnerable in terms of Black and brown residents who come from these communities and deserve a livable wage. And it's good to see that they're also going to be provided fringe benefits. And so this has been an ongoing conversation also for our entire tenure, my entire tenure, of how do we move towards that professionalization. And I'm glad, again, Cure Violence is in this partnership role with you all to really share how to do that, put that in place. So I am actually excited about these contracts and hopeful about what will come from them, but also, of course, I want to see what the data says now that we put these new systems in place. So thank you for that. Thank you for actually taking council's call to put rigid standards in place so we can actually deliver quality outcomes for our residents and essentially give them the safety they deserve. Thank you.
Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. Thank you, Deputy Director Lakes, for this presentation, and also thank you for the many briefings that you have had with my office. You and your team, I've appreciated all the time spent working through this behind the scenes, and now, having this public presentation with this wealth of information. I do have some questions and concerns. I understand some things you may not be able to answer here. It's totally fine to just say you can't answer those questions here, but some things I just feel like I have to ask for public purposes, because there's been a lot going on around this particular item over the last couple of weeks. The first thing is you all had a slide that said that you were bringing forward the 5 groups, and I don't know that that's a true statement, because there was 6 groups, and one of the groups that are not listed on here now was number 5 and not number 6. So it's not really the top 5 groups. It's the 5 groups that you wanted to bring forward.
Chair Chavez, Councilmember Vita, the groups that we're bringing forward today are those 5 groups that are listed.
Right. I see the 5 groups that are listed, but they're not the top 5 groups. They were part of the top 6 groups.
City Attorney Anderson.
I mean, again, we can't go too much in detail, but the ones that are bringing forward were the 5 top scorers in the RFP process.
That's not true, but okay. So my concern is that we're putting ourselves at risk again. What was brought up previously in the lawsuit is that it was fairness and like how we were treating contracts and if people were getting some sort of advantage or whatever was happening. And I just recall having a conversation about a group who has been removed being in the top 5 and now suddenly they're in a different number. So I don't, and I understand the conversation around, that we could have funded 8 versus 6 or whatever, but I just want to make sure that we're being honest with people, because what people are concerned about on the north side is the loss of services and the jobs that are being impacted by this, the groups that are coming forward. Regardless of who the group is, this is still taking services away from the north side. The presentation you gave today identify areas in the north side that need these resources, and now you're saying that some of that is not going to be covered. You've literally given us a presentation today that says a part of the north side needs to be covered, but we're not going to cover it. We're going to pivot and do something else. Like, how do we reconcile that?
Council Chair, council members, I think that no decisions have been made with respect to that. I mean, what's before you is the 5 top scoring contracts.
What do you mean no decision has been made? There's an area that was selected to be given services is no longer given services. There has been, once we vote, there's a decision made. And I have to go back to North Minneapolis and say, this area that you were told needs coverage is not getting coverage because we don't have anyone who is going to provide a service.
And council chair, council members, I mean, I think that there are still options available for coverage.
Okay, so when are we going to start having discussions about the options for that coverage, please?
Chair Chavez, Councilmember Vita, those conversations are currently ongoing.
Oh, I would love to be a part. I don't know about you, Councilmember Ellison, but I would love to be a part of those conversations so I can have information to take back to Northsiders. Again, people are concerned about, I mean, I know you all have seen it. There's been stories in the news around Northside getting better. There's less incidents of shooting, and we love that. We appreciate that, but we want to maintain that. We're taking a big hit here by losing one of the big groups who helped out a lot is not even being funded. They didn't even get selected. We understand that. But we are taking a hit if we don't cover where we've seen that we need this help in a certain area. I don't know how we go back and say we don't provide that if the data is showing we need it there. We can't continue to take these sorts of hits on the north side. We can't just say we're removing funding or whatever from a particular group is one thing, but like there is a service here. These are real people who have jobs that work on violence prevention in North Minneapolis. These are people who live in this community who rely on this heavily, and this is potentially 9 jobs because of this contract that is this area, just at a minimum, what you've shown, this is 9 jobs being removed from North Minneapolis, full-time jobs. I love that. I love that you all have set up this wonderful, chart for how people will be employed, full-time, leadership, all of that. But these are 9 jobs that are being removed from the north side that the city has presented is needed on the north side. And so I really need us to start back to have the conversations about how we're going to make sure that this service stays on the north side. The other thing is what did Cure Violence use to map out like where the services would go? What are the specifics on how they came up with the areas?
Chair Chavez, Councilmember Vita, I can provide the operational definitions for the indicators used for the map.
Please.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So, by the way, I'm Angie Oakes. I'm the new business data analyst. Wanted to say hello. With neighborhood safety and the data used, Cure Violence used, the National Incident-Based Reporting System, MPD, reports using that reporting system, and they specifically use counts of aggravated assault as well as homicide, and homicide as a negligent and non-negligent murder, or manslaughter, excuse me. If you'd like, I could go into the exact, it's kind of wordy, but if you'd like, I could provide the long-form definitions for both of those codes.
I don't need you to do that, but if you all could do a staff memo on like the specifics, that'd be great, to just have the details so I can, do my best to talk with folks about that.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. And then the last thing is, Director Lakes, you and I have talked about just an overall code of conduct for these groups, and like how do we pull something like that together? Just wondering, have you made any progress? Are we still having conversations? Not you and I, of course we are, but like, are you still having internal conversations about a code of conduct and any finalization of that?
Chair Chavez, Councilmember Vita, yes, we're still talking about the code of conduct. We do still think that that is an important aspect. And I've had conversations with several other council members as well, and we are absolutely still working in that direction.
Thank you, Chair.
Councilmember Koski.
Chair Chavez, I'm sorry to interrupt, but could we get Councilmember Vita's question for staff memo follow-up repeated?
Yep.
Oh, I just wanted the specifics on how Cure Violence came up with the areas of service, please.
Great, thank you. We'll get that follow-up. Councilmember Koski.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. Just a few questions here. Thank you so much, first of all, for the presentation. On slide 6, you talk a bit about the roles and responsibilities between the city and Cure Violence. I'm just wondering, how have those been defined in the service provider contracts, or how are they, or are they?
Chair Chavez, Councilmember Koski. So yes, we are in the process of executing a contract with Cure Violence Global, and those roles are defined within that document. So it's pretty similar to what was listed in the request for proposal, just to ensure that we have transparency in the process. And so the finalized contract will outline that relationship, the expectations under that partnership with Cure Violence.
And then for each of the vendors that we're utilizing that have been given the RFP, that relationship and roles and responsibility will be defined for them as well?
Not specifically, but it does outline the expectations of Cure Violence throughout the 3-year partnership that we'll have with them.
Okay, thank you. I think this might still be another question for you. I understand, you've alluded that, you can't share the full proposals that were received through the RFP process, but when will those proposals and the evaluation be available for the public and the council?
Yeah, it is public information once all contracts are fully executed.
Okay, great. Another question that I have, in slide 14, you're just talking about the differences between the approaches, the city's former approach and then now our approach going forward. And you say that previously we talk about vague reporting requirements, and versus now this is standardized language and specific reporting expectations. Can you give us a couple examples of what that might look like as we move forward? So, just give some examples of what that approach might look.
Chair Chavez, Councilmember Koski, one of the largest examples would be the difference between individual level tracking of the participants in the program. That was there was not a capacity to do that previously, and there will be moving forward. Okay. We could provide more specific examples, but that would be one of the largest pieces. It's important.
Okay, so the individuals that were...
Yes, part of the model, it's more of a case management model, the individual high-risk participants identified during the outreach.
Okay. Is it possible to do a memo to just get some additional examples of just understanding what the differences could look like?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Can you follow up on what specifically you're looking for?
Oh, sure. Okay, so do you want me to be really specific here? Okay, all right. So on slide 14, we are talking about the differences between vague reporting requirements, and then now it's going to include standardized language and specific reporting expectations. Can they give examples of these two approaches and the differences between them? Okay. Then in slide 26, this is about the reporting pieces. Who is responsible for reviewing and analyzing these reports, and how often?
Chair Chavez, Councilmember Koski, could you repeat the question one more time? I want to make sure I got all the pieces.
Sure. So on slide 26, there's the program monitoring and reporting. It outlines the daily reporting requirements. Who is responsible for reviewing and analyzing these reports, and how often?
Yes, so at the end of each shift, each staff member is required to do a daily debrief form, and that will be checked over by their supervisors. Their supervisors get trained on reviewing this information, so that's one data quality check. And I think I have another one written down for you. Okay, I think that's it for that. But as far as analysis, we expect, I'm trying to think of how much I can commit to, but the data is coming in constantly. It will be automatically uploaded. Essentially, the user or the staff would interface with the form, and that would automatically get updated in the example of the database that you saw.
Okay.
And that can be quantified in any sort of time frame. So we might find it's monthly is most appropriate for determining the difference in those outputs. It might be more quarterly, but that is to be determined precisely.
Okay, so I think that answers my, a follow-up question I had around how is that then communicated to the city, and it's in real time?
That's correct. And our team at NSD will have access to the information. Deputy Director Lakes mentioned earlier that is our information.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, okay, so then I guess who then is responsible in the city then to analyze that information? You said you could do it at any time. What's the process then about, analyzing, reviewing, and looking over that data or reports? I don't know if you would call it a report
Yeah.
since it's just in time, but.
Yeah, it would likely be in dashboard form, and the answer to that question, that will be myself. And we might get some assistance from PMI.
Okay, gotcha. And so then, since you're responsible for that, I have a couple more questions.
Sure.
So when you identify, I guess, well, how would we safeguard if there's issues? Or let's say you identify an issue. How is that then going to be communicated, or what are the measures that you would take to shift or pivot, or work with the program manager, or what's the process to escalate any of those issues and to go from that step?
Sure, I think I understand your question now. We don't have the information at the moment, but once there will be the Cure Violence training on documentation reporting, where we will go over our quality assurance approach to addressing the accountability pieces and performance of each staff.
Okay, so that's Cure Violence, they're going through that training for you?
We will go through I will join the training for the documentation alongside each staff and the managers, yes.
Okay. Okay. I think that's helpful to understand, and I just think that understanding what the safeguards are and understanding what the mechanisms are, if we see that something's not working or we want to pivot, that would be really helpful to understand, and especially for the public, what does that look like? What's the process for that? And how we then, as council members, can be held accountable to shift if needed, I guess, if it's budget or whatnot, so.
Certainly, and I'm sure we can formulate a more exact timeline response in a memo.
Okay, thank you. And then I just have another question about, on slide 36, it's talking about, this is your timeline of what's next. So it says, it sounds like the reporting dashboard won't be ready until October.
Chair Chavez, Councilmember Koski, the public-facing one, I would like to give that as an estimate date, just because I want to be very careful about the information we're sharing to the public and making sure we're getting feedback and things like that.
Okay, so that's the public. And then, so how will information before that be shared and made accessible to the public if desired?
Chair Chavez, Councilmember Koski, there's several options. One of the options that we're leaning the most towards is having a file that the public can download with all the raw information so they can do their own analysis as needed. But we're still in the process of identifying exactly what that would look like earlier.
Okay, thank you. And then I just had a follow-up question. Councilmember Vita had asked about a code of conduct process. Is this different than the code of ethics? And can you just describe the conversation? Can you tell me a little bit more about the code of conduct and what the desired outcome is for that?
Certainly. Chair Chavez, Councilmember Koski, what we are talking about with the code of conduct is kind of writing down and identifying expectations, both for internal NSD staff as well as external contractors, and documenting what that looks like in a way that hasn't been formally written down before.
Okay, so this is different than the city's code of ethics. Okay, all right, which I believe is part of the vendors have to comply with our city's code of ethics, correct? And I mean, I see that they in our, I believe in our RFP, I'll do a follow-up question about this then. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Councilmember Ellison.
Chair Chavez, can I interrupt again and ask I heard two different staff response memos from Councilmember Koski, and we didn't fully get either one, so could we repeat those?
I believe you got the first one, correct?
And then there was a second one that staff just offered to get back to in a memo, and then you just had a third question just now.
Oh, that's okay. I will reach out to them about the code of ethics versus the code of conduct. That's totally fine. It was just, I think you stated that you could give just more information about the process of what's going to happen if they identify an issue, what process they will go through in order to give us that information and how we're going to be held accountable.
Councilmember Ellison.
Thank you, Director Lakes. Thank you again. And so I have just a couple of questions more, might be open-ended. We might not have an answer to this, but I know that Councilmember Osmond had inquired about, these services on Lake Street and Elliott Park and Cedar Riverside, and that's a direction that I would love to be able to support. But as Councilmember Vital pointed out, we've got services here. We've got on the north side that we're seeing services rescinded, and we are hoping, as Northside council members, I know we're hoping to see some kind of solution be brought back forward that's workable to the community and to us. And so just wondering if just because Councilmember Osmond had raised these questions earlier, if you all had thought about how you might approach being able to make sure that we're able to have service in both areas. I know that you might not have that answer, but I was just wondering if you had any thoughts on that, or if you all had begun to think about how you might approach filling one or both of these gaps, I suppose.
Chair Chavez, Council Member Ellison, those conversations are still in progress.
Okay, because I know that Councilmember Osmond's got a solution that he's going to propose, and I want to make sure, I'm just trying to figure out how I can make sure that I can hold both truths, right? Both the fact that the north side needs the services, the fact that Cedar Riverside needs these services, and I don't want to see a skimp on either. And so very much would like to be a part of those conversations and figure out how we can sort of square this thing as we move forward. And so thank you for indulging that. And I'm sure we'll be talking about this in a second. I mostly wanted to thank you for the presentation. I think that you and your team, I know that you guys have kind of been a little bit under the microscope just because so much has been going on. So many of us believe in this work and want to see and want to feel like it's functioning at its full capacity. And I really do think that you and your team are bringing, if not have gained it already, but are bringing more and more confidence to our ability to deliver these services. And so I think it's really important that we say that, as we might have all the harsh questions. We still have harsh questions. That's a part of how we do things up here. But also making sure that we're giving you and your team your flowers as we see the work coming for us, as we see the efficacy to a specific model starting to coalesce, as we see the vendors start to be selected. I think it's just really important for us to thank you and your team and all the work that you've done to bring this forward. And if we want to see shorter presentations, we should have more meetings, not on the dais, but otherwise, we'll just sort of accept the long presentations until we sort of can find a balance. But mostly just thank you, and I look forward to supporting the contracts before us and figuring out how we reconcile needs in two areas. So thank you.
Thank you. I put myself last on cue. I think I just wanted to say thank you for the comprehensive presentation. And I'm really excited about the approach of moving beyond just the businesses and into the neighborhoods, which is the areas that I think needs to be our number one priority. It's the residents that we serve, particularly our constituents. So wanted to thank you for that data-backed approach. I also had a question about zone number 6. I think that's an area on the south side that's also not going to have a contract. Am I correct in that analysis?
Chair Chavez, let me go to that slide.
And that should be Phillips. Or is it zone 5? It's a location down there.
Chair Chavez, I believe that is a zone that is still, let me not commit to that, hold on.
All right, 5. Okay.
While we're waiting for that, I know that Councilmember Cashman had moved this for approval. I'm just making sure there is a proper second on that.
Thank you.
Chair Chavez, you are correct. Zone 6 is not covered currently.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Thank you. Similar to Councilmember Ellison and Vita, I'd love to be a part of those conversations for, even what the city attorney mentioned, options for coverage. I think those are areas, one, again, very thankful for the approach of going beyond just the businesses and also going into the neighborhoods, which is something that is really great and really important to many of our constituents. In Zone 6, it's the Phillips area that is really important and is struggling with a lot of these issues, who are going to be very excited whenever the services come. But I'd love to be a part of those conversations as well, as Councilmember Osmond probably too, because it's his ward as well. And yeah, just want to say thank you for the presentation. Really great presentation, comprehensive, answered many of our questions. Like Councilmember Wansley said, I am excited about the professionalization of this workforce. I think that's really important. And kudos to all of you for working on this presentation. I'm really grateful and very proud to have seen this today. So thank you. All right, colleagues, seeing no one else on queue, all those in favor of approving the items before us. This does not include the legislative directive and does not include Councilmember Osmond's items. Please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? All right, those items carry. The next items are the resolution for violence interruption services in Cedar Riverside and Elliott Park areas, and the legislative directive being brought forward by Councilmember Osman.
All right, thank you so much, Chair. I don't want to take too long. I know everybody has been patient, especially my resident who has been sitting there for a minute. Just to sum it up, Cure Violence Global has not done any justice for cultural Pacific neighborhoods in our district, and these neighborhoods have been left behind with this process, and it's not fair, especially a program that has worked. And as I talked to the staff, they acknowledge that, why are we taking away something that's working? We like reversing ourselves, and because of the Cure Violence or the data we're following on that. I think this has been wonderful investments. Our community, Cedar Riverside, has seen that. I talked to the Chief O'Hara, who has talked about a lot the work that has been happening, especially when it comes to cultural Pacific organizations that are dealing with this. He was able to have that group actually come to Dinkytown or come to the Stonehall Bridge during the July 4th to help some of those things. So it's really crucial for our city to think about this. And also, you have seen the letters that came in your inbox and how many supportive letters that come from all these wonderful institutions and organizations. So for me, I would hope that you will support this and ask the community safety to really consider bringing this program back to Cedar Riverside and Elliott Park. And the staff direction is just really straightforward. What criteria is being used when it's selecting offenders based on cultural competencies and so on. And also just the last 4 is like, when all the contracts are signed, can you come back to us and let us know, the scoring ranks and evaluation and all those information document is very important for the council to know what process we have used to capture all this. And so I'm asking, it says right there, it doesn't have a date, it says like 30 days after the contract are being signed. So thank you so much, and I appreciate your support on this. Thank you.
Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Councilmember Osman. I really do appreciate your advocacy for your ward and, the understanding that these are services that you need, but it feels competing with the services that I need in North Minneapolis. It is clear that we were selected to have services in the area on the north side that have been pulled. There's been a lot of controversy around one particular group and contract, and I don't know how that's going to be sorted out. And because of that, I can't vote for what you're trying to get now. I think the timing is not good. I really think we should wait to see what happens, like what the next couple of cycles hold and the future of the contract that was before us that got removed, because I can't vote against the north side. It's clear that we need the services. I am not disputing that you need the services too. Also, we get actuals for budgets at the end of the month. I would like to, see what has actually been spent at the end of the month, and if there's some money that we can reallocate to some of the services in Cedar Riverside or the north side, that would be much more helpful than making that decision today. I'm really hoping that folks would consider what's happening to the north side right now. Like we are having services and jobs pulled from us, and that cannot be helpful for this city at all. And so I really want us to just take a step back and maybe take a couple cycles, or one cycle, 2 cycles. I don't know how long it's going to take, but us to really figure out where this money is going to come from and if it's going to affect Northside services or not, and maybe come up with a way, Councilmember Osman, where you and I can both get the services we need in our wards.
Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you. I too want to join the discussion Councilmember Vita said, Councilmember Osman. Could you think about pulling this and giving a little time for this to play out? Right now, on the face of it, we're going to pit one neighborhood against another, and we shouldn't do that. Both should get funded. But taking this money, in fact, I would like to ask a question to staff. What happens if this money goes away? Does that not get allocated to Minneapolis? What would the effect of this passing be?
Good afternoon, Chair Chavez, council members. My name is Lindsay Erdman. I am the Associate Director of Finance for Neighborhood Safety. So this amendment represents about 10% of the department's total non-personnel budget. And so we would have to make trade-offs, and we just haven't had the time to evaluate that, but it is something that would need to happen.
Thank you. So to my point, Councilmember Osmond, this is taking a large chunk of that budget, and
you may proceed, Councilmember Rainville.
Well, I like to be listened to when I talk, so.
Did you have a question for me?
I'm trying to make the point that this is a large amount of the budget, and they're going to have to reconfigure how other neighborhoods get impacted. So it's speaking, the question is, would you consider Councilmember Vita's request to delay this until our staff can figure out how both neighborhoods could be served instead of choosing one over the other?
Sir, with all due respect, no, I would not consider that, because we just voted 5 contracts. Other neighborhood has been funded, and my neighborhood and this resident here deserve to get funded. So that's why I brought it forward today, and I'm hoping that my colleagues would understand that this neighborhood was left behind based on cultural competency of that, that they were not considered, because pure violence, as stated, never consider collecting those data and interviewing the neighbors and so on. So yes, I would definitely hope that I would get your support as we continue to serve and help. Like I mentioned, chief calling out the Stone Mountain Bridge when those fireworks happened on July 4th, and that Somali organizations or Cedar cultural organizations that have been selected, I was able to help some of your wards. So thank you.
I'm really sorry to hear that.
Councilmember Palmisano.
I'm not sure really where to start. I know this in terms of these contracts and in Councilmember Osmond's walk-ons here. In AEO next cycle, in AEO last cycle, we had safety ambassador contracts. Actually, it was on February 27th. That serve the Franklin corridor. This notion that Ward 6 is not getting services is just not accurate. In fact, next cycle, I think we have a motion to increase some of the contracts that we have for the safety ambassador programs. But just some context and background. This is a sampling, not a comprehensive list of some of the funding that has been approved over the past couple of years for public safety services. In 2024, all public safety aid money, cultural district safety ambassadors, you appropriated $3 million from public safety aid for these in 7 cultural districts, including Franklin Avenue East, including East Lake Street. We have Elliott Park Community Safety Initiatives as $200,000 one time. Additional funding for last year, not through the budget process, included 2024 Summer Safety Violence Prevention Strategies funding, Lake Street Cultural District Safety Services, Lake Street from Lindale to Pillsbury, Lake Street from Cedar to Hiawatha. In this year's Neighborhood Safety Department budget, it was reduced by 50%, almost $1 million, and there were lots of earmarks, like $100,000 one time for youth violence prevention in Midtown Phillips, $100,000 for community safety initiatives, $150,000. My point here is that there are many ways that we approach violence prevention in our city, not just violence interrupters, and this council have set aside funding to do just that. So in terms of the Minneapolis services, I am thrilled. For now, I believe our second time evaluating and selecting vendors in the Neighborhood Safety Department using your new RFP and procurement process. We asked for this and they delivered. That process was transparent, it was well promoted, and the selections were done without knowing the names of these vendors. Deputy Director Lakes told us last week that these selections were made a while ago. And I do appreciate increased needs in different parts of the city. But, what about the other 3 areas that this would have otherwise selected? Which ones would have been covered by a 6th contract here in the Minneapolis contracts? We're not, I don't think we know that. But it's clear the Cure Violence Enterprise did not see Cedar Riverside as the next priority. But does that mean that Ward 6 was abandoned with help? No. They're prioritizing Ward 6 needs with this Safety Ambassadors pilot program, the one that was approved by council on February 22nd. And next week, we're going to actually increase that contract along with some others. I mean, we've sat up here on this dais decrying the need for a better and more transparent selection process and data-driven decision-making. We got that, and now we have the new process, and we have this request to ignore that data and the guidance from Cure Violence Global and to fund it anyway. Like, I want to know, where exactly do we think this $643,000 is going to come from? What other services will be scaled back or discontinued? And Ms. Erdman gave an answer that said, not quite sure. But, not only did we force Neighborhood Safety Department to adjust their budget to accommodate $850,000 of their operating funds for new pilot programs in some of the areas I already mentioned, but we reduced their budget by over $7 million last year when we moved BCR to the fire department. We provided supplemental funding to BCR. We moved funds from the CAO's office for diversion programs. You know, earlier in this meeting, we said more time was needed to consider a 50% reduction in change to the audit department, even though we've been discussing that for months. But reducing the budget of Neighborhood Safety Department by more than 50% was done with zero notice through our budget process. And that feels a little bit hypocritical to me. My whole point here is that there are many ways that we are approaching violence prevention beyond violence interrupters, and we have the funding and the process starting to do just that, including in Ward 6.
Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. First, I just want to make sure that the motion was properly moved, so I will motion move the motion for approval so we can actually consider it.
Second.
Okay. So also just a few clarifying things here. Yeah, because there's been lots of misinformation points. One, we ended the Neighborhood Safety Department discussion around budget last year, where they still, after considering all of the changes made to their budget, BCR moving, they still have $1 million left of unspent funds. That is something that should NSD leadership at that time had made decisions looking proactively for the year ahead to say, oh, we need to make sure that these dollars are assigned to support the ongoing safety concerns that council members have been raising for over a year. They could have absolutely did that, and they did not. We are in a space, though, where we can continue this conversation. I'm more than happy to do that, of looking at other sources so that we can make sure there is parity in terms of administration of these services. But I do want to reground the conversation is this appropriation is reflecting one that was already assigned for violence interruption services. We are being asked to make the hard decision of saying, yes, we would like to repurpose that same allocation, looking at a different area where, yes, in the AO committee, there was explicit discussion around how possibly Cure Violence did not take into account the cultural dynamics of that, the needs of that ward particularly, or that zone, and also the concerns around how we didn't have a maintenance plan in place. So I just want to, this should not have impacts to NSD's budget when you already made this appropriation for violence interruption services. It is not on us to figure out, and it has not been justified as of yet, that the Frye administration decided to pull the contract where this was originally assigned to, but those dollars now gives us an opportunity to ensure, along with wards 4, 5, and 9, that another ward will be included. And we do have some additional resources, as some people have mentioned, where we can look at in terms of extending that parity and making sure, is there a maintenance approach? I think these are all things that still allows us to support the Councilmember Osmond's motion, while also recognizing there's a lot of other gaps that we all have been talking about for 2 years, like really taking the time to address that. And I also want to name, we want to make sure we have the time to see these programs be implemented correctly, because I heard some things around some of the safety summer funding that was never implemented also. So we want to make sure the safety ambassador pilots also get implemented, which also Leah Lakes, our Deputy Leah Lakes, made sure to clarify that is very much a separate program from the violence interrupter program. They have separate scopes of focus, and they are looking at different areas than what has been highlighted in terms of Councilmember Osmond's comments of where we've seen spikes in violence and where there's been stabilization. So I just want to name those are 2 different programs, and we've had a number of contracts come before this body where there are vendors that are performing different services under different programs. So that's not something uncommon. So I just want to at least reset that piece, and Councilmember Osmond, I'll be supporting your motion.
Councilmember Osmond.
Thank you so much. I represent Ward 6, and no one is more knowledgeable than me in this dais, and I appreciate Councilmember Palmisano bringing the safety ambassador, but it's not the same program. It's not. Let me just repeat this. Violent interrupters existed 4.5 years in Cedar Riverside. Why are we taking away services that have existed 4.5 years, services that have worked 4.5 years? Where is the common sense on that? That is the question I'm going to end. The services have helped our communities, and you have seen the letters from the institutions and residents. We're not asking you a program. We're asking, don't take away something that's working. Thank you.
All right, I am next on queue. I think for me, as we're heading into this conversation, I just at least want to give my input. I think the 2 zones in North Minneapolis we need to figure out a way as a body to cover those. I think we need to figure out a way to cover this Zone 6 that is missing, and I think we need to figure out a way to cover the zone that Councilmember Osman is talking about. I did want to offer some corrections, though, because oftentimes this body funds things because we see a need in our community, and oftentimes the mayor and his administration just don't implement it. I heard about Lake Street safety services being implemented off the ground. We all approved that, I believe, unanimously. Never got a report on if the mayor actually implemented that program. My understanding is that, I don't know, there was no update on it. There was a conversation about the summer safety that we, I think, almost unanimously supported and passed through this body. There was no update if that was actually implemented. There's many of these budget allocations that we as a body fund, and they just don't get implemented. So you oftentimes have council members being forced to come over here and saying, we are begging for help. We are asking for help, and we are asking you to come into our communities and actually do some safety work. That is not to say that today's presentation was not good. That was a really good presentation today. I am thankful that staff came here today with this data-backed approach on how we can improve these services. This is a 180 that I am seeing today, and I'm very proud that our staff came here super prepared and gave this incredible presentation. But I just wanted to at least make those comments because we never got an update on those budget amendments for Southside, for Lake Street, for summer safety. If that work did happen, I would love to have a follow-up from our staff as an administrative follow-up if they actually got implemented, because we never got a report on that. We never were told what was happening with that funding. I think it wasn't even maybe even signed by the mayor, which we have to go back, which would tell you if he supported it or not. So I just wanted to offer those clarifications. When this body funds programs, it is our expectation that they get implemented. And for me, like I said, it's important that the 2 zones in North Minneapolis get covered. It's important that Zone 6 in Phillips gets covered, and I support the zone that Councilmember Osman is trying to get filled. Thank you. So, Councilmember Ellison.
Thank you. Yeah, just going to revisit this real quick. I think, obviously with this legislative directive, without a doubt, I'm fully in support. With the general appropriation, I'm generally supportive, but I'm having a tougher time with, and I think the main reason is because I do believe that this program needs to be funded. I do believe that the program that this money was withdrawn from also needs to be filled. And I just don't have enough information about whether or not both those things can happen. Would love, when is full council? Is on Thursday, it's Tuesday. I guess for my part, and if nothing else, just my peace of mind, I'd love for this portion of it, the appropriation, it'd be a lot easier for me to support it moving forward without recommendation. Give me some time, maybe give Councilmember Vitas some time to have conversations that we need with staff, just so we're not flying blind into a decision where I've got to explain to Northsiders why I took money from the North Side when that's obviously not my intention. And so, I think I would see if my colleagues are open just to that, just 2 days. I'll make sure we prioritize meeting with staff, and hopefully we can just kind of get at least enough information to decide whether, hey, how is this all moving forward, right? And that would give me a lot of peace of mind if we could proceed forward that way.
Yes, cool with that.
Okay.
Councilmember Palmisano.
I'll leave it with this. I think that's an appropriate way to move forward with Councilmember Ellison. I did not say that all these other programs are the same. I pointed out twice that Ward 6 is still receiving services. Maybe the funding needs to come from the safety ambassadors for this program. But I don't like my questions or my comments being reframed. I don't think that's appropriate. I'm constantly getting picked at anything that I seek to say on this dais. these are different programs, but it's all neighborhood safety. I haven't heard North Side council members act like they need to run their own fiefdom. And I think it's wildly inappropriate to carve up the city and say, I deserve this piece of it. I think it's wrong. I think we need to look across the board as council members and make decisions, not just for our own wards, but for our city as a whole. That is what we were elected to do. We might have special knowledge about our own wards, but we need to make decisions about the city as a whole. And we have Cure Violence, and we have a whole process now in the Neighborhood Safety Department to try and target limited resources accordingly. And I think that we need to follow it. And when something happens, like has with these first contracts, and one of them being pulled, I think maybe the best way to do it is to pull back and to reconsider and figure out how multiple other needs can be met. But it can't be I'm going to take this funding from the north side for my part of the south side. That's just wildly inappropriate.
I just got myself back on cue. I think at least I want to express my support of why I support at least the work that Councilmember Osman is doing, because I think there is an opportunity for us to make sure that we fill the gap that Councilmember Osman has clearly indicated is missing in the community that he represents. There's a gap that both Councilmember Ellison and Councilmember Vita have indicated that is missing in the north side, and I have indicated a gap that is missing in Phillips with these zones. There is an opportunity for all of us to be able to work together to address these gaps, and I want to be very clear. Some of us represent wards that aren't as privileged or don't have as much wealth compared to other places in our city, and should be, having more equitable resources into our neighborhoods to address the disparities, institutional racism, the impact that violence has in some of our neighborhoods, and that needs to be considered in this process. And I think that is the work you're seeing right here. We have council members in 5, 4, 6, 9 talking about these issues. And it makes sense because these are areas that we are trying to address concerns of historical issues that are impacting our neighborhood. So I at least want to make sure that that context was given. I think there is an opportunity for all of us in this body to work together to address those concerns by Thursday, I hope. Cool. So all those in favor on the motion to move forward without recommendation, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? That motion moves to full council without a recommendation. All right, colleagues, there is one last item. However, we can push this till Thursday because captioners close by 5 p.m. So just want to make sure you all are on board that we are going to have a longer day tomorrow. No objections? Sorry, Thursday, full council. Okay, cool. Is that okay? Well, we still have to read the HOW reports, but yes. So we are not going to have this item number 4. That is going to be on Thursday at full council. Do I have to do anything? All right. Without objection. Cool. Now, lastly, we will finally end with our committee reports. We'll start with the AEO Committee, Administration and Enterprise Oversight. Councilmember Wansley.
First, I'll just speak loud. So the Administration and Enterprise Oversight Committee is bringing forward 21 items for consideration. First is a gift acceptance for travel and lodging from Every Town for Gun Safety Support Fund. This item was approved in committee, but we have since learned that the gift is no longer necessary. So I will be moving to delete this item from the agenda at full council. Number 2 is a gift acceptance from Carbon Neutral Cities Alliance. 3 is a gift acceptance from the Big Cities Health Coalition. 4 is a gift acceptance from National League of Cities. 5 is a gift acceptance from the National Public Safety Partnership. 6 is a gift acceptance from the Link for tickets to the Link Elevate and Empower Gala. 7 is a bid for Minneapolis Public Works water utility supplies. 8 is a bid for Greenstone Water Infrastructure and Restoration Project. 9 is a bid for circular corrugated trench shields. 10 is a contract with Downtown Minneapolis Transportation Management Organization, specifically for ABC ramps, multimodal outreach programs. 11 is a contract amendment with Restoration and Construction Services LLC for the Pioneers and Soldiers Memorial Cemetery Masonry Pier Repair Project. 12 is a contract for 2025 through 2028 customized safety training and training services vendor pool. 13 is a contract with Metro Blooms Design and Build LLC for private property tree planting. 14 is a contract with Saytool for labor standards and claims navigator services. 15 is a lease amendment with 2700 East 28th Street LLC for the Fire Department Employee Assistance Program office space. 16 is a collective bargaining agreement for the Minneapolis Building Inspectors 2025 through 2027. 17 is a collective bargaining agreement, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Number 292, 2025 through 2027. 18 is a legal settlement, workers' compensation claim of Shane Thorne. 19, also a workers' compensation claim, legal settlement for Melissa Rogers. 20 is a contract with Cornerstone Advocacy Services for sexual assault victims advocacy services. And then 21 is a contract with Cure Violence Global for 2025 Minneapolis Strategic Outreach Initiative Technical Assistance Provider Services. I will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. I would request that my name is included in item number 6 to give acceptance for the link. I will be speaking at that event, and I want to be added to the resolution.
Thank you, Councilmember Jenkins. I believe that Councilmember Vita is bringing forward an amendment to this at Thursday's council meeting.
Yep.
If you can work with Councilmember Vita to add your name to that amendment, because we're going to take on that amendment at Thursday's council meeting. We can't take amendments on committee reports, from my understanding.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Perfect. Cool. So, clerks, just so you know, there's going to be a different item coming. All right, next up we have the Budget Committee. We'll pass it on to Council Vice President Chuck Time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Budget Committee is bringing forward one item to Thursday's council meeting, which is approving 3 appointments to the 2025 Local Board of Appeal and Equalization. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Next up, we have the Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee, and I'll pass it to Vice Chair Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. The Business Housing Zoning Committee will be bringing 17 items to Thursday's council meeting. Number 1, approving extended hours of operations license for Pizza Karma. Number 2, approving a liquor license for NOCO. Number 3, approving a liquor license for Rosalia. Number 4, a resolution authorizing host approval for the issuance of bonds for Wonderful Foundations. Number 5, passage of an ordinance related to prohibiting the use of algorithmic devices on rental rates. Number 6, this item was a license revocation for La Carreta Restaurant. However, we have an update and staff has received their tax clearance letter, and therefore this item can be removed from the agenda on Thursday. Number 7 is denying a variance appeal to Timothy Baylor for the project at 1302 Douglas and 1716 Fremont Avenue. Number 8 is approving 5 liquor licenses. Number 9 is approving 211 liquor license renewals. Number 10 is a passage of ordinance related to building requirements for food lockers. Number 11 is a resolution approving guidelines for Cultural Business Week celebrations. Number 12 is approving financing for 2011 Pillsbury Avenue. Number 13 is approving a loan for Passage Community at 1724th Street. Number 14 is approving the Minneapolis Affordable Rental Stabilization Grant Awards. Number 15 is authorizing exclusive development rights to North Fate for property at 1014 and 1026 Plymouth Avenue. Number 16 is authorizing grant agreements funding cannabis technical assistance services. Number 17 is resolutions approving the business revitalizations program in Uptown. And 18, lastly, the resolution approving financing for Spring Manor projects. With that, I will stand for any questions.
Thank you. Next up, we have the Climate and Infrastructure Committee, Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. C&I Committee is bringing forward 9 items. Item 1 is project approval and adopting special assessments for 24th Street East resurfacing project. Item 2 is passage of an ordinance related to water service and terminology revisions. Item 3 is designating the location, cost estimates, and easements for the 2025 alley reconstruction project. Item 4 is amending the 2025 capital improvement project by decreasing appropriations for alley renovation and increasing appropriations for the unpaved alley construction project. Item 5 is authorizing a cooperative funding agreement with Hennepin County for pedestrian safety and traffic signal improvements on Broadway Street Northeast. Item 6 is authorizing a cooperative agreement with Hennepin County Regional Railroad Authority for the Nicollet Avenue South Bridge over the Midtown Greenway. Item 7 is concurring with the city engineer's request for a variance from the state aid operations rules for 8th Street Southeast and 10th Avenue Southeast. Item 8 is approving a concept layout for the Logan Park Industrial Reconstruction Project, Phase 1. And item 9 is passage of a resolution supporting the Gold Line Bus Rapid Transit Extension Project from St. Paul to downtown Minneapolis. I'll stand for questions.
Thank you. And next up, we have the Intergovernmental Relations Committee, Vice Chair Chowdhury.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. The Intergovernmental Relations Committee is bringing forward one item, and that item is 2025 Legislative Policy Positions Amendment. And that's the only item we're bringing forward.
Thank you. And lastly, we have the Public Health and Safety Committee, Councilmember Wansley.
All right, Chair, we have the Public Health and Safety Committee that's going to be bringing forward 5 items. The first is a passage of an ordinance amending provisions related to review panels for the Community Commission on Police Oversight. 2 is authorizing a contract with the State Fair for additional law enforcement during the fair. 3 is authorizing the submittal of a grant application to the BCA for automobile theft prevention grant. 4 is authorizing a contract with the BCA for Minnesota Human Trafficking Investigators Task Force full-time analysts. 5 is authorizing a contract with the BCA for police investigator participation on the Minnesota Human Trafficking Investigators Task Force. And that concludes our business on that one.
Thank you. And with that, we've concluded all business to come before the committee today, and hearing no objection, I will declare this meeting finally adjourned. Thank you.